Welcome to the Novi Community School District Board of Education regular board meeting of February 22nd. If you'll all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, if I get approval of the agenda.
So moved. I recommend a motion, yeah.
Moved by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Mitchner. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 7-0. Passes. This brings us to our student board representative report. Good afternoon, Jennifer.
Hi. So as the first semester has come to the end and the second semester has started, there are many events that have happened around the schools, especially in the high school. So I wanted to take this time to talk about all the positive things that have been happening around the Novi High School. The biggest thing is that the Novi Student Council helped lead Novi to victory in our second annual Rivals Week. Rivals Week helped raise over $16,000 for the Special Olympics Michigan, an organization that works to help intelligently disabled students compete in sports. We also donated over 5,000 pairs of socks, 2,000 tubes of chapstick, and 1,000 sticks of deodorant to the Special Olympics Michigan. During Rivals Week, we had a Spirit Week where students got to dress up with Wild West, green and white, and even Adam Sandler themes. In addition, there were lunchroom games like a Rubik's Cube solving competition and a pie eating competition. There was also the Polar Plunge and Novi Unified basketball game to help raise money for the organization as well as win us points to beat Northville. At the end of Rival Week, Novi High School held their first ever Snowco dance. Regarding competitions in the Novi High School, the Novi Major 6 a cappella group won third place at ICHSA, and the Novi Theater 1 Act won first place at regionals and took third place at states this past week. The Novi High School BPA, or Business Professionals of America, and CTE Finance attended a UMich Accounting Career Day hosted by the MICPA Association. Regarding music in the Novi High School, the Novi Choir held their Sweetheart Cabaret, where students showcased their singing and songwriting abilities, and the band and orchestra students just came back from their Disney trip. And the Novi High School is preparing for their annual Wish Week coming up in March. As for the Novi Meadows held a STEM Carnival on January 19th, where STEM organizations from the Novi High School and across Novi came and got students excited about STEM. I personally was able to attend this event as I helped lead the Novi Girls Who Code booth, and I can just say that all the students were super excited, and I'm glad to hear that these Novi students are getting so excited about STEM and finding careers that they want to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. This brings us to our reports to the board. District Wellness presentation, Mr. Micah.
Thank you so much. Very excited tonight to share with you some information and also, reintroduce you. I know that many of you have gotten a chance to meet Rosalie Johnson. Rosalie is our Director of Mental Health and Wellness. And over the course of the past several months, as she's been getting up and running, she's been doing a lot of work. She's been very busy. And so she's going to talk a little bบabout the work she's working on and just kind of update you on that, as well as give you an update on our Wellness Center, which is a really exciting and important project. As many of you know, the state of Michigan allocated $1 million for us to be able to construct a wellness center. And so I'm excited for Rosalie to share a little bit about that with you this evening. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I am going to share with you some of the work that I have been able to engage in. And I'm going to use this visual that's in front of you to help kind of organize the progression of the work, current and future. I have 6 pillars that I'm going to talk through. I'm going to speak really high level, but highlight a couple of the initiatives that are currently happening, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We'll move around this graphic clockwise so that I can end in the Wellness Center and cover some more detail in terms of that. So pillar number 1 is personnel. A big part of my role is to really collaborate with a lot of individuals across the district, and so I'm getting to do that. I'm meeting with different directors, administrators, staff, and I am learning about how all of our work really overlaps and aligns and what opportunities we have to collaborate together. Pillar number 2 is employee wellness. So a big aspect of the work that I'm doing is really looking at how to support our employees. We know that wellness has a direct impact on our employees' longevity and productivity and overall happiness. And we also know that there's a reciprocal relationship between our staff and our students. So this is an important aspect of the role. Everything from providing staff with mental health resources to doing some fun things like right now we have a February district-wide wellness challenge happening that staff are getting to compete in, and it's really about making an intentional commitment towards them. A shout out to Friends of Novi Schools who has generously donated prizes for that, and so that's kind of been a fun initiative happening. And then also just ongoing conversations with staff to really understand what they need. Third pillar is programs. So another big part of the work that I get to do is really look at what our current programs are to support social and emotional learning and mental health, and create some systematic and strategic plans for moving this work forward, making sure we have a robust tiered system of support to make sure the needs of our students are met. And so I know that you've heard about some of those potential programs, and so that's a big part of the upcoming work that I'll be focused on. Pillar number 4 is about community partnership. So another aspect of my role is to serve as the liaison between the school district and all of these wonderful community partners that we have. I want to highlight a couple of them. I'm working right now with the Novi Youth Assistants, and we are getting ready to roll out a mentor program in our K-6 buildings called Silver Linings. We're super excited about that, and we need some more mentors. So if any adult mentors are interested in mentoring, let me know. Working with Easter Seals to explore a co-location model where we would have potentially a therapist inside our schools offering Tier 3 intensive therapeutic support for some of our students who need that. We have a great ongoing partnership with Oakland Schools, and so we have a team of people who are really working on building this comprehensive plan to support mental health and wellness. And then we also, I'm working with the Mental Health Alliance here in Novi, and there will be an upcoming community book read about a book called Never Enough by Jennifer Wallace. So something kind of fun to tune into, a great support for our families. That takes us to that next pillar, which is our student and family wellness, which is a huge priority, really engaging in needs assessment. So there will be some upcoming surveys to really gather some of that quantitative data around what are the current needs of our students. I've already had the opportunity to engage in some of that qualitative data gathering by meeting with students, and I'm really starting to understand what they are facing. One of my big priorities in this pillar is to create a digital resource hub. So we have all of these great resources that currently exist. You just saw all of these community partners that we have. And I really would like to create a digital hub so families have a place to go when they need a support. So that's a big project that's happening. I do also want to highlight our partnership with the Cook Center, which is going to be a phenomenal resource for our families coming out in March. Our families will have access to a resource hub, but also free parent coaching. So that's coming out in March, and we're really excited about that. And then pillar number 6 is our wellness center. So I'm going to give you more of a detailed overview of our wellness center. Whoops. Again, we have $1 million for our wellness center. So right away, when I started in November, I sought out recommendations from district and building leaders to build a committee. 87 individuals from multiple different stakeholder groups were invited to be part of this committee work. 59 members committed, which sounds like a big group of people, and it was, but it was important to have multiple voices at the table. Within that 59 member group, we also have a 14-member leadership team that meets regularly and does some continued work. Excuse me, sorry. Again, our committee members, we have admin, teachers, ancillary staff, parents, high school students, community partners, and actually even a couple of our board members here tonight. We have had 3 meetings so far. We met in December, January, and February. And what I'm going to do next is really kind of walk you through the work that we've done in those 3 meetings. So meeting number 1 in December, we really spent time as a committee defining wellness. Wellness has a personal meaning for every individual, and there are 8 interconnected dimensions that really define wellness. And I just draw your attention to this because as we start to really develop our plans in the Wellness Center, I want you to know that there's been really intentional thought about connecting our physical spaces and our programming that's going to be part of the Wellness Center to these 8 dimensions. Wellness means something for me, which could mean something different to you, and we want to make sure we're representing all aspects of wellness. Whoops, I don't know what my deal is. Okay. Also at this meeting, we spent time talking about our compelling why, this is Maslow's hierarchy, talking about how for our students and our staff to be their very best and reach the top tier of that pyramid, we really have a responsibility as educators to look at those other tiers and make sure the basic needs of our students are met, that our students feel safe and loved and that they belong. And as we talked about our compelling why, we also talked about real data, right, that approximately 1 in 5 of our students will face a serious mental health issue in their schooling. Suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death for our youth. Educator burnout is real, and we're seeing the effects of that. Many of our families are struggling to navigate some of these issues with their students, and they might have their own mental health struggles. So the why is there. So we spent time really centering our work around that. And then I posed this question to the large group. I asked, what current resources, supports, initiatives, and partnerships do we have that support mental health and wellness in Novi? So there was some great group dialogue that happened around this question. We then came back together as a team and we talked about internal and external factors that are impacting mental health and wellness. Internal factors are those that we have some control over. External, we generally don't have control over. And we talked about what are those forces that are impacting Novi. And so after that excellent collaborative dialogue, that meeting ended and I was able to take all of that data back and really start to organize and synthesize and find patterns. And so that took us to meeting number 2. And that happened in January. And I presented a recap of all of that data that was gathered during meeting number 1. And so just to kind of give you a high level picture of that, in response to that question about what are we currently doing, what's in place, we had 135 data points that were collected. And so I presented that to the team. We have some really great things happening. We have great people, psychologists, social workers, counselors. We have a therapy dog program, an employee assistance program. We have some great partnerships. We have a lot of great things happening already. I then presented the data about our external forces. There were 81 data points here. And this was good for us to take a look at because we want to make sure that when we're thinking about the Wellness Center, we're addressing some of these external forces that are impacting us. So external factors that came up are things like family, right? We can't control what some of the family situations are of our students or if they are going through trauma. We can't control our demographics, right? But we need to respond to the needs of the individuals that are coming to us every day. And I seem to have skipped internal. I also presented our internal factors as well. And so then what we did was we had this wonderful group think dialogue about all of the ideas and opportunities for the Wellness Center based on all of that data that I had presented. So the group came up with 173 ideas. I didn't really put any parameters on it. I said, sky's the limit. What are all of the things we could possibly think of for our Wellness Center? In between meeting number 2 and meeting number 3, I just want to make mention that I did visit Chippewa Hills Wellness Center. I'll be visiting a couple other wellness centers that currently exist just to tour the facility and ask some questions and see what currently is in place. I then met with our respective leadership teams, as I mentioned, and we compiled those 173 ideas. We found our like ideas, we sorted them into the 8 dimensions, and we spent hours and even days really discussing, categorizing, and prioritizing the ideas. So at meeting number 3, I presented that process of how we took 173 ideas and we really narrowed it down to a survey that came out this week. So I just want to quickly make mention of how we narrowed those ideas down. There were some ideas that were great ideas, but they may not physically fit into our footprint of the building. This will be the wellness center, this building. There were some great ideas, but at this point in time, we don't have the staffing necessarily to support those ideas. There were some great ideas that could be considered duplicate resources. So for example, having a computer internet station. We have that resource at the library, so we don't need to duplicate that resource here at our wellness center. So we talked through some of those things. And then there may have been ideas that didn't necessarily fit into our vision alignment or the parameters of the wellness center. And then there were ideas that were like, we can run with these, let's get them captured. So those started to get organized into these buckets of, these are the ideas that require an actual physical space, like an office space or a multi-purpose room where we can host things. So ideas that take a physical space, and then ideas that are really more like programs or classes or pop-up events that we can potentially host here at the Wellness Center. And another subsection of ideas were more things that we would consider throughout the planning process, like let's have some big windows and natural light and some cool lighting and maybe aromatherapy, right? They don't show up on a survey, but there's some good ideas for planning. And then this final bucket were ideas that were great ideas to support mental health and wellness, but they didn't necessarily make sense to live at the wellness center, but rather consider as we think about our overall comprehensive plan of mental health and wellness support. So again, I presented all of these ideas, just kind of giving you a view of what that looked like. We went through that process of narrowing it down, and we put out a survey that went out yesterday to our community, our staff, and to our high school students. We have over 700 responses so far. Collectively with the survey. If anyone hasn't taken the survey yet, I encourage you to do so. And this is where we're really interested in gathering that feedback about what stakeholders would prioritize. So through all of that process, here's kind of this final list of these broad-based themes. It's organized into 2 categories: what requires a physical space, and what programs, classes, and events would you utilize if they were here. And so now, just to share with you kind of what our next steps are, we will gather all of that survey data. It's due next Wednesday. I will have a follow-up meeting with our leadership team to really review that data. We have a community town hall where we'll have Q&A March 13th. And then we really are starting now to get into developing those key priorities around what's our financial plan, our sustainability plan, really establishing those partnerships that we could potentially work with. Something cool to mention that one of the questions on the survey asked if anyone had known of resources, and I have had so many family members and staff members already respond to say, like, I want to be part of this work. This is, I'm a licensed nutritionist, I'm a massage therapist, I would like to donate hours, so really cool community feedback already on that. In April, we'll have an initial design planning meeting with the architect, and then there will be many more additional steps from that point forward, which I'll continue to communicate with all of you and our committee at large and our community. So that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Any questions? Mr. Miller?
I do, thank you.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of great work has been done on this. I'm generally supportive of this, but I am a little apprehensive still, and most of it is because I don't have all the information
Sure.
yet. And when I have people asking me about this, I really can't answer questions the way I'd like to. But what I would like to see is when you have the Q&A with the community on March 13th, that we're really prepared to do a little bit more of a deep dive on the why and the problem statement, so that at least
we're all on the same page. We know why we want to do this and why we have to do this. The other thing that I like to know as well is the $1 million that we're getting from the state. There has to be some ties to it, right? I mean, we have to do something for that. It would be nice to actually document that and share that out as well.
Yeah, I'll let you want to take that one?
Yeah, so what's great about the $1 million is that there really aren't any strings attached to it. When you see some of these school-based centers that are popping up in other places, those are being funded through specific grants that require minimum requirements, and we do not have that. This is money through the state aid, and so there really are no strings attached with how we use that $1 million, is my understanding.
Yeah, to kind of answer that in another nutshell is to say that there's a difference between school-based health centers and a wellness center. And a wellness center is really a concept that's not been done before. We're looking at these 8 dimensions. We're looking at something that's a little bit out of the box. And I think the general sentiment was wellness is a component of our society that's been neglected for a while, right? And that's something that we believe in. And I think it's something that is universally something people can get behind and get excited about. But the nice thing about that is they're basically saying, if Novi can do this, maybe they can create a model that could be replicated in other places, right? So it is different than some of the other things that you might see in, say, a school-based health center, which this is not. So the nice thing is that it's giving us space to kind of have latitude working along the board to create, what are those structures and, policies and things like that we want to have in place for ours.
Right. So this is good. At some point though, I'd like to be able to get down to less than just a high level of this.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's still more meetings and there's still a lot of discussion. This is still
Sure.
being worked out.
Yeah.
But and I think this is the first time we're really presenting this publicly, right? So,
Yeah.
again, I can't really answer any questions at this point, so I kind of feel hamstrung, but.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I think that we'll definitely be able to kind of dig in deeper as we get this survey response so that we can really start to nail down, these are the ideas that we're moving forward with, and because we know what those ideas are, now we start developing the key priorities for each of those ideas.
Right.
So that's where we're going to get into the details.
Yeah, what I'm hoping is there's gaps that we need to fill here in the community, right?
Right.
Or within our district, I should say, because I still don't even know what the universe of user base is going to be for this wellness center. What are the gaps that we're going to fill,
Sure.
right? How many people do we think we're going to be using this stuff? So there's still a lot of questions. I think it'll be great, but know that I'll be hounding for more specifics as time goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody's probably going to want those, and I think at the town hall meeting on March 13th, we'll be able to have more data, right? And we'll be able to drill down further on structure, right? So here's what we're going to propose. I mean, ultimately, whatever is here, you as a board of 7 board members are going to have to authorize, right, the moving forward of that. This is our early on attempt. We're still in the development. We're kind of we're in the ramp up period. So you'll get more details, I think, a month from now when we have our town hall. But this won't be the first, or it won't be the last time that we come before this board, to talk more details as well.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mrs. Beaudoin.
First, am I able to respond a little bit to Mr. Meno's questions? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not out of order in that.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
What?
You're not going to offend me.
Okay. No, not even, I'm not even going to argue with you. I just wanted to say that I participated on this committee and would be more than happy to have like a more lengthy conversation with you if you'd like more
Sure.
of my accounting of what we
Okay.
went over. And for the public, I'd like to say that it was a huge group of people. Huge. But what was really cool is that there were people that were social workers, or there was a bunch of our administrative team that was there and very enthusiastically sharing their ideas. There were students, parents, different community group people. So there was really just a very broad group of people. And what I thought was really cool about the way this went down was that you moved us all around. So we sat with different people each time we got together. And I got to hear from so many different perspectives of what they thought they wanted. And quite frankly, the thing that came out on the survey is not what I would have like sat down if you said, what is the wellness center? It's not what I would have come up with, and I think it's a lot better than what any one person would have started with. So I applaud that work, and thank you to everybody who participated in that committee. It was huge, but it was, I thought, very, very effective in the way that you presented it and led that to get so many perspectives and then compile it all. So first, because I am very enthusiastic about this, I wanted to ask, do we have plans, like, if this goes as well as I expect that it's going to, do you have ideas of how we may make it bigger and more available to more of the community? Because, you know, we have some starting ideas, but do you have like long-term dreams of what you would want it to be yourself, or?
Yeah, so this is really phase one, right? And so this building, this footprint is what we're working with, and this will be the wellness center. What's really cool about this, in my little bit of time that I've lived on the garden level, as we like to refer to it.
Garden level is very bougie, yes.
Yes, there's lots of space around here. So, I think that, yes, if this goes as well as that we hope it goes, there's definitely the opportunity in the future to expand the space, to expand resources. I think that there's absolutely a lot of opportunity, and we need to be thinking about that and planning for that potential through all of this work. And so, yes, if I'm dreaming about it, there's lots of potential to grow the space if it has the desired outcome that we have.
Good, because I have been dreaming about those expansions as well, of like how cool this could be for our community. I think it's wonderful that you've had so many people offering to help and volunteering services, and I'm very excited to see what that all ends up looking like. And would you be able to speak a little bit about the access to mental health care? Because that was one of the things that was on the survey. Mm-hmm. And initially, the bill and the money, like kind of the general idea, which I know was just kind of like loosely thrown, like not thrown together, but like kind of loosely established, was it would be like access to mental health care after hours. And I was curious if that was going to be more like a triage situation, or if we were thinking we were having like mental health professionals like working here after school hours, or if you have had like thoughts on what that would look like.
Yeah, I think we're definitely still in the planning phase of that, but I'm envisioning, and the need that I'm hearing about is really, it would be nice to have actual providers here on site,
Okay.
Able to support those needs. We also have a great relationship right now with Oakland Community Health Network and a mental health school navigator, and so we're talking about that potential for a relationship. And so when we think about triage, it would be really nice to have a mental health navigator who's able to help families who are in crisis mode know where to go and
Okay.
what resource to access. So that's something that we're exploring as well.
Okay, I love that idea. Having providers here would be great too, but I feel like a need that I see in our community as a parent, and things I've heard from other friends through the last few years is, okay, my kid's having a crisis, I just realized this is what's going on. And so, like a lot of times, especially our teenagers, we don't know there's a problem till there's a big problem. And a lot of times then parents don't know, where do I go, who do I call, is this an emergency, do I need to call the police, like what do I need to do to like solve this immediate crisis that we're having? So I think having somebody that can say like, okay, this one needs to go to ER, this one maybe, we're gonna call in the morning and get you an appointment, or just talk through some of those like crisis things that might arise. And then the other thing that Mr. Mike and I had discussed before is that this isn't gonna be exactly the same as like what we've seen in other districts, and that this is gonna be kind of a district resource, but it's not in a school building. So there's going to be a different level of like access for our students in that regard, and I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how the planning for this is going to be different than it would be like if this were going to be in our high school or something along those lines.
Yeah, sure. So, I think you're highlighting the major difference, right? It is not connected to a school, and while there are some benefits to being connected to a school, I think that sometimes when it's connected to a school building, that can also cause some concern as far as, I've heard parents concerned about students accessing resources without consent, right? Some things like that. And so this is its own building, it's its own space. It is intended to be really a district wellness center. It is a holistic wellness center, as you can tell from all of the ideas, right, that are there. So a school-based center, the ones that I have seen are really focused primarily on the medical component, and there might be a mental health provider as part of it. And that's what comes out of that grant, and that's a great resource. I think our vision is different, and that this is really intended to be a holistic space that has lots of different resources available. When you look at that survey, ideas for programming is, cooking classes, nutrition classes, some fitness classes, right? There just are lots of ideas on the table. And so that would require us to be scheduling and programming and, offering signups to come to these classes. And so it just takes on a very different feel than being attached to a school. And so did that answer your question?
Yes, I think that does cover it. And then as you're speaking, I'm sorry, this will be my last one, guys, I'm sorry. I'm very excited about this project. So the other thing I was thinking about just now too is that I think this could be a great resource since we do have a lot of people who move here internationally and are new to our city and our country. I think that having some like welcoming resources for communities of here's what we do here and this is this group you can come to and these different things. I just think this could be such a huge benefit to so many parts of our community, and I'm very excited and I applaud all your work, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Betsy.
Any other? Dr. Ruskin?
I just want to say thank you. I think that you took a gigantic task and went running with it, but you're keeping the team. I'm lucky enough to sit on the committee as well, and to have 59 people in the room with all different ideas and all different home family values and all of that, like you've done an amazing job keeping everyone at a very high level and trying to come up with a plan that you can gather more feedback and not racing into it. So I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'd be remiss if I did not thank Kelly Breen, who's out in the audience, for I think the state funding is a key to this. I think it's super important. And we should feel honored and blessed and lucky that we have this money, however it lands and however it looks for our district, that we can all feel excited about and support as a board and a community. I can't say how that'll look, and it doesn't sound like you could say how that'll look because there's a survey out there and we're gathering so much information. But I think the fact that we do have some funds to address wellness in our community is amazing, and I give kudos to the district for taking on such a big project.
Absolutely.
So thanks for all your work, and I look forward to continuing on this slow roll of a journey to gather all the information, as Mr. Mena said, so that we can answer questions for our community stakeholders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I appreciate that this is a true community initiative for the Community Wellness Center, and that it's not just a presentation given to the board and we're asked to, make a judgment and approve it and move forward, that we're taking our time to get a lot of community involvement and input. And then I also wanted to add to Trustee Beaudoin's comment earlier, 988 is the mental health crisis hotline.
Cool.
So 988 works very similar to 911. Just call those 3 digits and you can receive some support and help. So.
Yes, thank you for that.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Smith?
My last comment would just be to encourage the community to continue to voice ideas, support. I would just remind everybody that this isn't something that's come up in the last few months. There's a few of us, my partner Jason Smith, that founded the Friends of Novi Schools with a commitment solely to mental health and wellness for personal reasons. This is new. There weren't any other districts in the state that got $1 million grant to try this. There's nothing in stone. What I hear from people is fear. I'm afraid that you're going to be doing this. I'm afraid that you're going to be doing that. I'm afraid that you're going to pump our kids full of this, or you're going to try to brainwash and do that. This is a wellness project. It's designed to make our kids, our staff, and our community more well. So if you've got positive ideas, please share them. if you have concerns, share those as well. But, to Willie's point, I agree, we need answers, but we just don't have them yet. We don't even have all the input yet. But I can speak for Rosalie, because I've said at all the tables as well, we're open. But I really believe it's gonna be a good thing. You guys, we're in a different time right now. It's you don't have to go very far back in time to see what happened to a local parent and how they were held responsible for something for the first time ever in our country. I've heard people say, well, what the hell does this have to do with education? You're bored, you should be educating our kids. Well, it wasn't that long ago that we started realizing that it might not be a bad idea if we fed our kids in the morning before they started their school day. What does food have to do with classroom? Well, it's generally regarded that if the kid has a full belly, maybe they can fill their heads. Well, if the kid's got a better psyche or is doing better from a wellness capacity, maybe they do better. Maybe their family would do better. Maybe kids wouldn't be bullied as much, or there wouldn't be just so much fear. Fear's false evidence appearing real. So I just want to encourage everybody to continue to give ideas and just know that we don't have an agenda. We don't have an end in mind. We're just trying to do something for the first time ever. So I'd encourage everyone to share their ideas. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mrs. Roman?
Everyone else has spoke, so, my only question is, for someone, that maybe doesn't have a student and didn't get a survey, where can they find that survey? Or who can they, contact to get a survey? Because we might have somebody that's watching, not holding my breath, but, that would want to do, something, a comment or help out.
So that's a great question. I would say they could reach out to me directly, but I can have further conversation about that piece.
Yeah, we can also
with you.
get the link of the survey. It's a public survey. We could put it on the website as well.
Yeah, that's what I was
good,
hoping
yeah.
it was.
Could we do like one of the little pop-up?
Yeah.
So just when you come to the website?
Yeah.
And then
I
to
think that's a
Tom's
great idea.
thing is, so many kids have trauma, more than we know. And they don't learn well unless you figure out what that trauma is. So this has a lot to do with teaching students, because if you don't have that trauma taken care of, they don't learn.
Can
Okay.
I piggyback on that one too? I'm sorry, this is something I'm very passionate about.
Mrs. Baudouin?
I know, that was my
Sorry.
last one before, but I was excited about what you're saying. So, one thing I talked about a long time ago as a community member was an article I had read that really changed my perspective, and it was talking about a school down south where they had like issues with poverty, and one of the things that they did is they put a laundry facility in their high school, and this laundry facility increased graduation rates in this community because they had students skipping school because they didn't have clean clothing and they were too embarrassed to come to school. And it was like statistically measurable that graduation rates improved by having a staff member that helped the children doing their laundry during the day. So if you said to me, would it help your children attend school if we did your laundry? I mean, I'd jump on it personally, but not because I can't do it at home. So I think that it's difficult at times for us to understand the things that are obstacles for people if we don't have those in our lives. And I think that what was beautiful about the way this process went is you got so many different perspectives, that there are so many people that were saying like, oh, you know what, if people had a ride to this place, that might be helpful. Or if people had a way to go to an exercise class or talk to a nutritionist. These aren't things I would have thought of, and they're holes in other people's lives that we as a community could collectively help fill and make our students more able to be successful and be prepared. And we have a ton of students who love to do community service hours, and this could be a great place that they can even like help each other with things. So I'm very excited. I'm gonna get all emotional, but this, like, to me, this is like one of the coolest things I've seen us work on. And I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I'm very proud of the work you're doing, and I just want to thank you and thank all of you guys for being excited about it too, because I think it's going to be awesome. So thank you. I'm done now. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I'll just say that, you know, it's unique and first of its kind, and to kind of echo what Mr. Smith said, give your ideas, good, bad, and different. Without those ideas, we don't know what the holes are. And without the holes, there's really no reason for it. So to Mrs. Beaudoin's point, this is to fill some of those holes that we may not see, but the rest of the district and the rest of the community sees. So, yeah, I'm anxious to see more data and see what we can do and, you know, take it from there.
Great.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to continuing the process and being with you again soon to share some updated data when we get that survey input and really start to define those next steps. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
That brings us to 2023-2024 budget amendment number 1. Mr. Meinke.
Thank you. It's the exciting time of the year where we get a chance to hear our first budget amendment of the year. I'm going to ask Mr. Kling to come to the podium just because I don't think that mic's working today. So what I will say, we talk about this from time to time. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have the state budget numbers in our hands and by June 30th, which is when we're legally required to produce a budget. You know, no offense to our colleagues in the legislature, but sometimes I think their best intentions are to get them out on time, and they have to work with multiple chambers, so it's always a negotiation. So with that in mind, we're throwing a dart at a dartboard in June when we bring the first budget. And so we then subsequently to that time usually find out what our allocations are, and then we have to build an amendment. And that's what you're seeing here tonight is our first budget amendment. I know that was shared with the Finance Committee. Mr. Kling is here to share the budget amendment for A1 tonight, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. That's exactly right. So, as you know, the Uniform Budgeting Act, we're required to give you a budget in early June for the following year. The problem with that is on a good year, the government might give us their budget by June, which is already too late. So, we kind of do our best guess as we see changes. We have opportunities like this tonight to amend those budgets. And give you updated information based on the updated governor's budget and state aid. So tonight we're going to go over the 23-24 general fund first budget amendment. This was presented again on the 12th to the Finance Committee, and now it's for approval. So the start of the presentation, I'd like to kind of go over big picture things, big picture trends to give you a good idea of where the district's at financially, and also where we came from over the last couple of years. And then we'll kind of get into the actual budget, and we'll go over high level, then we'll go into revenue, then we'll go into expenditures, and then next steps. So starting off, I like to start off with the enrollment. This is our enrollment trend over the years. This is I want to say rare in Michigan. You know, we are one of the few districts in Michigan who are consistently gaining students. We might have years where we, you know, break even, but then as you can see, the trend is up. Statewide, that is not the case, and that's mostly due to a number of factors, but mostly it's birth rates. So we're in a lucky district that is growing. Second slide also kind of highlights my point. This is year over year change of enrollment as a percentage. So as you can see, we're consistently, I should say, not always, we're consistently in the positive. The other two lines, the gray, and I believe that's red, I'm colorblind, but I think that's red. Those two lines are both Michigan districts, all Michigan as a whole, and our peers. So that would be like districts. You know, Northville, Birmingham, Bloomfield, those kind of districts. Those are our peers. So as you can see, again, we're kind of an anomaly. Good thing to have. Really good. This now, we're transitioning to the funding that we get from the state. So as you can see, the last several years have been very positive. Can't help but keep 2010 and 11 in there. Won't get rid of it because it really does show a story. In 2010 and 2011, the following year, 11 and 12, we saw a significant cut. And so although it looks great over the last 10 years, really, it took us a while to get back. It took us a while to get back to where we were, and now we're just now starting to kind of pass that. So it's a great trend. We're happy for it. I do have a little tidbit at the top. There was a statewide study that was done. It was a third-party, independent study that was done. It said, what does it take to educate a student in Michigan in 2021? And that number was 10,421. A little bit of inflation has happened since 2021, so I'm sure that number has gone up. But as you can see, we're about 1,000 short of that 2021 number. So although happy, thank you to the governor for supporting schools and making it a priority, we still have some work to do in that department. Now we're going to switch to our financials. This is our fund equity, the history of our fund equity. As you can see, over the decade, we've added to it, but we've hovered right around 15% the last couple years. This is audited. So these are audited numbers. So this is what you're going to see after the audit's done. So the audit, our fiscal year is from July 1st to June 30th. The audit takes place depending on the school district between August and September. Then they have finalized those numbers. And so this would be based on those audited numbers. So this is the next, set it up, good information. Now we kind of have the chart that kind of speaks to what has happened. This is our fund balance as a percentage. This is a fund balance as a percentage of expenditures, history, the chart of it. And so you have Michigan and peers. Again, they're kind of covered. You can't see, well, I definitely can't see the red, but yeah, they're kind of almost in lockstep. We were in lockstep with them. And again, this is financial historicals, but there was two main things that we kind of attacked this past year to try and get that back up. One was our property taxes. We weren't collecting the full 18 mills that we were expected to. We were collecting about 17.25 mills. The problem with that is the state assumes we're going to collect those 18 mills. So they say, we don't know what you're doing behind the scenes, but we think you're going to get 18. And so they fund you accordingly. And because your state aid is a mixture of your property tax and the per pupil allowance, we weren't getting that revenue. So we had a special election. We updated it to say, hey, not only do we want to get the 18 mills, we want a little hedge so that if there is a rollback in the future, we're covered and we don't have to worry about this until that hedge is gone. Really smart move. That's how you would get through that and how you wouldn't have to keep going back to the voters and say, hey, we need to adjust this. Yes, so that was the Headley rollback, and so we corrected that. Another correction we had was we have a recreation millage that helps support our facilities. That recreation millage is there to help with the cost of the track that the community uses, the buildings that the community uses, and those expenditures weren't being offset by the recreation millage. So we have also adjusted that to kind of reflect. So I think those two big things are why you see that divergence about 2 years ago in this chart. I can't speak to all the other schools in the state, but that's my theory. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of the actual budget, and as you can see, like I said, in May, April, we're putting this budget together. The state isn't telling us what they're going to give us until June, And so as we get that information, we adjust it accordingly. So as you can see, we had significant increases in revenues, but a lot of those revenues were associated with grants that come with expenditures to help support students and staff. And so as we get the grant revenue, you're also seeing the expenditure side. So starting on the left is the original budget. We had originally planned to add about $150,000 to the fund balance. As you can see, the audited ending fund balance as of 2023 was 14.4 million. It was expected to go up to 14.5. Over in the next column to the right, you see the first amended budget. Again, revenue over expenditures, we're planning to double that number to over $300,000 to add to the fund balance. So the new adjusted fund equity would be, or fund balance would be 14.7 million by the end of this fiscal year. So good news is this is our first amended budget. Also good news is we get another crack at it come May. So as we get more and more information, we'll fine tune it one more time. We'll amend it in May, bring it to you guys in June, and that'll be the final budget. So now we're going to go over the actual details of the revenue and the expenditure side. So the revenue side, we saw these are different categories. They're called function categories. It's just telling you what exactly that revenue is. So you see local revenue. We're expected to see a $1.5 million increase there. State revenues, again, that's that state aid coming from the governor, $3.4 million. Federal revenues, we're actually going to see a slight decrease in federal revenues. Combination of ESSER-related funds coming off the table. Even though we're getting additional federal funds, we're seeing a lot of still some ESSER funds coming off, so a little decrease in federal funds there. And then incoming transfers. This next slide kind of breaks down what I just said. I'm kind of repeating myself, but so for the local source revenue, about $934,000 of that was due to property taxes. So that's going to be the increase in the value of the homes within our district and what that means for us. Consequently, although we see an increase in state aid, because the state, again, I kind of talked about that formula, you have that property tax and state aid, because that property tax is expected to go up, we didn't see as big of an increase in that state aid. We still saw an increase, but when I first originally budgeted it, I assumed that would come out of state aid because property taxes are looking better and what the state gives you a preview of what they're expecting you to get. They tell you what they're expecting, so it helps us. We're not trying to guess, I think the property tax is going to be this. We use their number. That's higher, and so they're consequently going to say, well, we're going to take that out of your state aid. Now we still saw increases, and so I'll get to that later. But so $900,000 in property taxes increase. We'll see that. Well, again, we'll see where we're coming in. This is a very hard year to budget for property taxes. Rewind to increasing the 18 mills, our 17.25 to 18 mills. That's on the back half. So we do summer and winter taxes. We're going to see that increase on the back half because of the way the special election happened. We weren't able to collect it on the summer, but we are now collecting it now that it's winter. So when I was seeing the numbers coming in during the winter, it was hard for me to project because I couldn't see it yet. But now, as it's now February, we're definitely seeing that increase coming in. So we'll get another shot at the final to adjust that based on where that comes in. And that also, there's a lot of factors in that, including delinquent taxes and what we're getting from this county. $443,000 increase, that's going to be based on investment income. So we kind of took a look at our cash flow. Cash flow is important because it tells you your highs and lows throughout the year. Where do you have a cushion? Where are you kind of close? Everyone here has a cash flow. Personally, we have a cash flow as a district. It's no different. And so we like to be super efficient with that cash flow and invest it where we can. So that's a combination of being efficient and then also higher interest rates that schools enjoyed. Schools have to invest in very safe assets. So as interest rates rise, we kind of take advantage of that. So we're seeing a $442,000 increase there. Talked about state aid the state aid category, so that's going to be your per pupil and then other associated categories. There's a lot of acronyms, a lot of different buckets, but that's going to be the ones that really you have discretion over. So we saw a large increase there from what we thought. And then state sources, these are like individual initiatives by the state. So they are tied to, we're going to give you revenue, but you then have to provide a service to the students and the staff. So these, again, I want you to keep that number in mind because that state source are tied to expenditures or like, that's going to be represented also in the expenditure side. And then Fed sources, again, I kind of told you we had an increase and a decrease. We lost our ARP childcare stabilization, but then we also have some one-time 11T left over that we're planning to use. So that's just the industry we're in. We have to keep track of year over year what we're getting and how that's going to affect the forecast. All right, gonna take a break. Take a breath here. Okay, so moving on to expenditures. This is kind of like this is kind of like the revenue side, but it's kind of broken down by function. So it's in what areas are we increasing? A note on the expenditure side. At the end of last year, we had at the end of last year during the audit, we had a difference of about 1.5 million in UAAL that was not reflected in last year's budget. That has been corrected. So UAAL, again, I'm sorry, it's a part of the state pension liability. So it's what we are we are a local government under the state, and the state says, well, I know we have this pension program, but you're kind of part of it, so on the balance sheet, here's the liability. We do have our own liability associated with that, and they give us money and we then pay it right back to this liability. So that UAL needed to be corrected to the tune of $1.5 million. That's going to be spread out by all salaries and like it's a percentage of all salaries. So it's going to be spread out wherever there's people. So that 1.5 is going to be peppered throughout this function, throughout all of these function categories. In addition to that $2 million I mentioned earlier with state categoricals, a lot of that was like softwares, people, positions that either support students or staff, mental health, security, things of that nature, special ed. Any increases you saw were going to staff, so those are going to be also kind of spread out. We kind of went over it in more detail at the finance committee meeting, but those are going to be also spread out. So it's a combination of that 1.5 million correction and increases. In addition to that, I'm going to move on. We also had other things. So that's just the employee contract assignment updates. Contracted services, so that's going to be subs, that's going to be transportation. Transportation is a huge issue statewide for schools right now, both for athletics and field trips. There's a bus driver shortage, and there's no shortage of routes that need to be made. So schools are needing to go out and use third-party contractors to transport those kids. Huge cost there, but they don't want to give up those extracurricular activities. So more to come on that. We'll see how that goes long term. Also software associated with both instructional and then just structural contracts, IGAs. That's our Oakland County contract, I'm sorry. I have to remember to do acronyms better. And then supplies, band uniforms, fuel in our buses, and then also curriculum. So there was a number of supplies that we've purchased in that category. Oh, I'm sorry, vans are and equipment, the following one. Band uniforms, fuel, and curriculum were supplies. Equipment is a separate object code, but we actually saw a decrease in equipment, but because we have that band purchase, the overall increase is going to be $189,000. And then other, again, spread out through the functions. Probably too small to list. There's a lot of small individual changes throughout the whole district. That's a lot of talking. Next steps, again, so this is our first crack. This is our first go of it with the information that we had since the governor had approved her budget. We're going to continue to monitor both revenue and expenditures. We're going to adjust projections as necessary. And then we're going to come back in June and give you an updated amendment and say, hey, I know what I said in February. Well, this is the new information based on what we know. So that's kind of the next steps. Any questions? I'm sorry that was long. I can't help.
Mr. Mitchner.
Yeah, so my question is, chicken and the egg question. Did we find out we were going to have more revenue before some of our expenditures rose and then adjust accordingly? Or did our expenditures rise and the new revenue coming in from property taxes and state aid happen to just cover that? Which way did it go?
A lot of it was money that we knew we got after the governor gave her, or after the governor approved the budget and the budget was finalized. We started to know right away that, hey, we were going to get 31A, we were going to get money that's associated with mental health, security, things that we need desperately in schools, and so we then adjusted for that.
Okay,
So it was expenditures that were added after revenue was added to the budget.
So our expenses went up by 5 million and our revenue went up about the same amount, but that was intentional. You knew we were getting more money, so we adjusted our expenditures accordingly. It wasn't a lucky situation where we just happened to cover unexpected increases in expenditures.
So a portion of that is what I mentioned earlier, which was the 1.5, which was uncovered during last year, right? That was adjusted accordingly. So that was a huge increase in expenditures that contributed throughout the functions. So it would be the difference of that really. And this also is, we're talking all the assignments throughout the district, every retirement and person that came in, the difference between that from what we knew back in May and April till now. So we're kind of adjusting those contracts too.
So to cover that 1.5 million adjustment that got peppered throughout where we have employees, so that without the unexpected increase in state funding, we could be in a mild deficit this year. So luckily it worked out for us. Am I understanding correctly what you're stating?
I think it's hard to, it's easier said after the fact than now, and it's hard to kind of say exactly, but the long story of it is when we get funding that's for specific purposes, we want to use that to support staff, students, what the legislatures are dictating that we spend it on. If we happen to lose that funding, we would need to, and we talk about being flexible. If we were to lose that funding, we would have to your point, course correct quickly so that it doesn't hit into the fund balance. Is that kind of?
Part of another part of your question, Mr. Commissioner, is the fact that we learned over the course of, since May when the last budget was done, right? We knew at that time as we're in the middle of staffing season, okay, we understand that we're going to have these categorical pieces of funding. We understand that we're going to get that revenue. So even though it looks like this big increase, we knew that money was coming well in advance of us placing staff for the fall of this year. So to your question, it really is the first thing you said, which is we responded to the funding levels that were coming. And so that's where you see a majority of that. And that increase also is encapsulated in the increases in our contracts for our employees and the increase in wages and all of those other types of things that we did when we did our collective bargaining agreements this past year. We forecasted this coming based on reading the tea leaves and the information that we're getting from the state. So that's kind of how that's built. We would not have added those positions if we knew that categorical funding wouldn't have been there.
That explains.
Yeah.
So it was a calculated increase
Correct.
that we took on.
Yeah.
And then is the 1.5 million also why central services had the largest increase from the previous budget to now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so central services, there was a number of things that happened. Part of that was grant related, so it was positions that were added based on grants that we received that weren't there. Another was our technology IGA contract, adjusting that. And then there was the UAL, part of, a fraction of that UAL total was in there also. So that's gonna be the main, there's other things, but those are gonna be the
biggest
main
contributors.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Klein.
Thank you so much.
You can do acronyms from time to time, but
Call me out on it, because I forget. I just think everybody knows about UAL. Call me crazy.
okay, this brings us to celebrations. Does any of the board have something they want to mention as a celebration? Commissioner?
Yes, I do. So when we had board appreciation at the end of last month, we received a lot of amazing gifts, and we received this one little one. And this almost knocked my socks off. And if you can't see in the audience, it's a little paw print, and it says ROAR, roar on it. And the reason why this was an amazing, one of the coolest things I received that night, is because this came from Orchard Hills, and Orchard Hills previously had not had a positive behavior, PBIS, positive behavior intervention
System.
and support system in place, and that basically generally helps our kids. It's a way to, instead of correcting them with disciplinary actions, it's a way to encourage them to do the right thing and act positively with a reward system and recognition structure. And it's super critical. Most of our K through 12 buildings have it, and Orchard Hills hadn't had one. And for those following what's going on in the district, we just got a new principal at Orchard Hills. So I just wanted to celebrate and recognize Principal Joy Danforth and her entire staff, because she put this whole thing into place in 4 months. So she was there September to December. We got this in January and it was in place then. So that is phenomenal. And I know because I asked how easy is it to put PBIS systems in place in our buildings that don't have it, and I was told it's very difficult. It's a long process, it needs to be well thought out. And this individual just joined the district, just joined her school, and a lot of her staff is new, and she was able to really work hard, and the credit goes to her and her phenomenal staff for really prioritizing our students in that building and really putting in the effort to make this happen in such a short time. It's really quite phenomenal. So I just wanted to celebrate her and her entire staff at Orchard Hills tonight, and really, really very impressed. If I may, the second thing I wanted to celebrate was I'd also like to celebrate Black History Month, and I have a little handout for all our board members. So this is a calendar that I just happened to find, and I made some copies. It's an old calendar that Tara Mitchner, an amazing individual that I just happened to be fortunate enough to be married to, put together when she was vice president of the Deerfield PTO. And it just highlights students and educators in Black history that made significant contributions. And I just wanted to name two, Fannie C. Williams and Mary McLeod Bethune. Both are amazing educators in their own right. Fannie C. Williams went on to help institute and was part of the process of developing kindergarten and standardized testing, as well as Child Health Day. And Mary McLeod Bethune pretty much established a college and set the standards for what historical Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, do today. And they both were in multiple presidential cabinets, not cabinets, but in committees, advising multiple presidents throughout the country's history. So I just wanted to celebrate them, celebrate Black History Month, which is American history, and just acknowledge them and appreciate for what we here in Novi enjoy, as they contribute significantly to the educational system that we benefit from today. So,
thank you. Any other celebrations? Mr. Smith?
Sure, I want to recognize the Novi High School Theater Department. Last weekend on Saturday in Detroit at Wayne State, our high school competed in the state championship for the one-act competitive program. They had performed in Owasso, Michigan a couple weeks before at the regionals and won the regional competition, so they were invited for the state finals, and they finished Saturday with their one-act, which was called Every U.S. Election Ever, and they placed third. A school, Woodhaven High School won first place, West Bloomfield took second. Woodhaven defended their championship from last year, but Novi represented, I think, very well. A number of the individuals, the actors and set designers and backstage people took different awards. But I think finishing third was quite an accomplishment, and I want to recognize Heather McKegg, the director. There's some other adults downstairs that runs our program here, Justin Jarvis, Mike Heikela, and Katie Gray are all adults that that put in hours and hours and hours. And I also want to compliment Ben. I think a lot of times we forget that their hours are long. They start early, and what is it, after 7 already? So the night before the theater troupe was supposed to pack up and head down to Detroit, their last possible chance to practice was Thursday, and the power was out at the high school. And they literally couldn't open up the door to load their truck. And, I think my son got home at like 1:15 in the morning. But to Ben's credit, he answered his phone and was calling back and was at a conference in San Diego, and he's calling back here. The guy did show up to open up the door and try to get the door. Yeah, it was, so the kids are in there trying to practice with flashlights and the best of their ability, and went down Friday and came back late again Friday night and packed up. But it was just long hours, and I just want to compliment the theater department. It's, I think we do a great job recognizing when our tennis team wins, but I don't think we do as good a job when some of the performing arts do well. So I want to compliment them. So congratulations, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mrs. Beaudoin.
Well, I wanted to give Mr. Smith an opportunity to mention the play, but I also wanted to talk about that and a couple other little things here. So first, for those of you in the community who have not had a chance to see the one-act play, this is the first time I went to this type of production this year, and I would just like to say that it is actually really, really cool and very different than any type of theater I've ever seen. So the way this competition works is they have to assemble the set as kind of a part of a timed, performance time. So including however many minutes to put the set together, and then they do their play, and then they have to take the set down in that same amount of time. So when he's saying loading up for the play, they're like literally packed up the entire set, which they had built to look kind of like the White House as part of this every U.S. election ever. And Mr. Smith's son Thomas happens to be the head of our set department, but that is the student, what's his position called?
Set designer.
Set designer. And he did a phenomenal job with this. So one of the things that I got to see a video of, because I unfortunately was sick, so I didn't make it out to States, but they actually had built a big giant dome on top to really give it like the look of the White House with these columns and these domes. And the giant dome goes up, and like I got to see this video, the theater kids are like cheering and clapping and just like so excited. It was like an amazing accomplishment for them to have gotten this huge part of the set up and going. So really excellent job to Thomas and to all the other students and volunteers and staff that helped out with that. So everybody did a wonderful job. And then I also wanted to give a little shout out to our state rep, Kelly Breen. I heard today from Mrs. Laporte, who was there with the 4th grade field trip, and Representative Breen gave apparently quite a lovely tour and took time to answer all of the children's questions. I assured Mrs. Laporte that that was probably the very best part of Representative Breen's day, because I know she enjoys the kids as much as we all do. But I wanted to thank her for that as well, and for Mrs. Laporte for setting that up, because I think that kind of makes it a little extra special for the kids to do that. And then finally, a happy Black History Month to everybody, and thank you, Mr. Mishra, for this calendar. I'm excited to look through that. But I appreciate all of the efforts that have been made in our district to really highlight that this month and all year long. So happy Black History to everybody.
Thank you. Any others?
Just a real quick. Yeah. So I wanted to put a shout out to our border cross team. We had 2 individuals, a junior, Joey Saley, and a senior, Felipe, who's one of our captains. and they both made it to individual qualifiers for states. Unfortunately, our team did not make it as a team to states because we're a little light on riders, and if you don't have enough people participating, then you can't earn the points you need to go to states. But both of them qualified for states and participated last Wednesday, which is fabulous for them. And we're losing 6 seniors this year, and we have a pretty small team, so if anybody knows kids who like to snowboard, are little daredevils, even if they've never snowboarded, the team is really at risk for not having enough kids to participate and have a team next year. So please encourage 8th graders who are going to be 9th graders and anybody at the high school who would love to try something new to reach out to Coach Mitch, to Don, our athletic director, or to myself, because it would be sad to see the border cross team dissolve. So encourage your neighbors and your adventurous little students around town to try something new next winter.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other celebrations? Seeing none, let's move on to comments from the audience. We ask that you fill out a green card so we can call them, and we do have one. So.
Yep, we have just one green card this evening, Kelly Breen.
Thank you. I appreciate the shout outs. I apologize, laryngitis, not from talking to kids earlier, but that was my favorite part of the day, actually. Very briefly, since I haven't been here in quite a while, I just want to say that I'm very excited to hear about the progress for the Wellness Center. I think you're doing a fabulous job. This is community driven. Every community is unique, and Novi especially, it is obviously one of the best districts in the state. We saw with it being a destination district. People move here for the schools. I know my family did. So I'm very excited to see what the community together is going to decide was going to best suit their needs. I am going to apologize about the budget timeline. Sorry. But what I can do is assure you that as we have been seeing in recent years, I know for a fact that the school aid budget is going to be awesome. And I'm very proud of the work that everybody does on it. And I think we will continue to see the types of focus on increases in just overall budgets as well as particular areas of need for schools. On a legislative issue, I will say I was here a while ago about the School Safety Task Force. Since then, a lot has changed. The work of the task force does continue, and we will see in the coming weeks some of the bills that we put together come to fruition. There will be hearings. These bills are thoroughly vetted. We have input from stakeholders across the state, input from school board members, from parents, mental health experts, law enforcement experts, Superintendent Menka, Oakland schools, just about everybody you can think of. So you can, if you stay tuned to social media or the news in general, you will see those hearings coming up within the next few weeks. We're going to do these in parcels, the school safety bills. There's also a ballot proposal that is being floated around. I want everybody to be aware of it if it does make its way onto the ballot. We saw what a huge chunk of change that property taxes bring to the school budget. If there is a ballot measure, right now it's called Axe My Tax, it will eliminate property taxes. And I encourage everybody to do their research to see what the plans are to help fund the schools if in fact that does get on the ballot, and especially if it is passed, to see how that will affect school funding. Village Oaks today, I talked about that. And finally, March is reading month. And one of my favorite things to do, especially to my poor son, who is humiliated every time I do this, I love to go to the schools to read to the kids. They are particularly fond of the book with no pictures. Sorry, I'm going over. But if any teachers watching this would like me to come to your school, elementary only, probably, let me know. I'm happy to go. And finally, all y'all are doing a great job. Thank you for everything that you do for the community and for the parents that are here and the educators that are here to help support you in the work you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody else require? Seeing none, let's move on to our consent agenda. In our consent agenda, we have approval of minutes for the regular meeting of January 18th, minutes for a special meeting on February 1st, Governance and Policy Committee of the Whole minutes, Capital Project Committee of the Whole minutes, approval of bills for the December and January for the board report, check registry, and purchase card reports on all three.
Move to approve consent item as presented?
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mrs. Roney. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. This brings us to donations. Mr. Mike.
The Novi High School Orchestra Boosters would like to gift the experience of having a guest educator and performer for the Novi High School Orchestra program. Bruce Uchimura is an esteemed professor of music at Western Michigan University. He's going to come and work with the students, actually perform with the Philharmonic Orchestra as part of their Orchestra Gala fundraising event on March 2nd. It's a Saturday. And so Professor Uchimura will be paid $750 for his time, and also his hotel stay will be covered for a total of $1,134.35. The recommendation is that the Novi Community School Board of Education accept the donation as presented with appreciation and thanks.
Do I have a motion? Mrs. Baudouin.
I move that the Novi Community School Board of Education accept the generous donation as presented with appreciation and great thanks.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Baudouin, supported by Mrs. Roney. Do we have any comments?
I believe you can buy tickets for it. I saw that online.
You can.
Okay. No other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. Mr. Mike.
The Novi Middle School PTO is presenting a generous donation of $1,000 for the purchase of the Kona Ice and from the Mystery Box for Fun for all Novi Middle School students to enjoy during their April 23rd and 24th testing days. So the recommendation is that the board accept this generous donation as presented with appreciation and thanks.
Mr. Mitchner.
I move that the Novi Community School Board of Education accept this generous donation as presented with appreciation and thanks.
Support. Moved by Mr. Mitchner, supported by Mr. Smith. Any additional comments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. And one more, Mr. Mike.
And the Parkview PTO is presenting a generous donation in the amount of $10,467 for Science Alive, the second grade daytime field trip, a fourth grade daytime field trip, the Fun Fair bounce houses, media center supplies, and a physical education equipment refresh. And so the recommendation is that the Board of Ed accept the generous donation as presented.
Mrs. Baudouin.
I move that the Novi Community Schools Board of Education accept the generous donation as presented with appreciation and great thanks.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Baudouin, supported by Mr. Mena. Any additional comments? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Just like to thank all the donations, really. Some people think it's a bother for it to come in front of us, but it also gives us a chance to say thank you and appreciate the generosity of the PTOs, the boosters, the community in general. And without that, we would not be the school district we are. So, thank you. That takes us to our action items. First action item is the personnel report. Mr. Micah.
Thank you. Dr. Carino is taking a well-deserved vacation this week, and apparently she decided to have the largest personnel report of the year at a time when she wasn't going to be here. So I'm going to do my best and introduce you to some incredible new people that we're going to get a chance to meet tonight. So I'll start with Marcia George. Marcia George is being recommended as a special education self-contained teacher at Parkview Elementary. Marcia did her student teaching with us in the fall and previously also worked as an extended school year teacher in Walled Lake. We also have Hannah Hellett. Hallett, which is, she's being recommended for the BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst position at Novi High School. Hannah comes to us with prior BCBA experience at the Blossoms Children's Center in Brighton, where she created behavior intervention plans and conducted initial evaluations and reassessments. We also recommend Madeline Huber for the Novi Meadows Speech and Language Pathologist position. She's been working in Florida as a speech and language pathologist prior to coming to Novi and has worked with students ranging from preschool to high school. We also bring forward Cindy Long's recommendation for the combined Parkview and District Student Success Coach position this evening. Cindy comes to us with a great deal of experience, previously working as an elementary student assistance provider in Livonia and a behavior support specialist in the Plymouth Canton School District. Next, we have Jite Okabare, and she is being recommended for the Special Education Resource Room teacher at Novi Meadows. Jite received her education degree and special education certificate in emotional impairments from Northern Michigan University in Marquette. We also recommend Rashna Jain for Special Education Resource Room paraprofessional position at Parkview. Rashna has been an assistant professor in India with a focus on human resource management and marketing. Excited to make the transition to education. We also have Elza Puce. Elza is being recommended for the Special Education Self-Contained Paraprofessional position at Village Oaks. Elza has previously served as a special education teacher in Latvia prior to joining us here in Novi. We are also excited to bring 2 bus drivers to you this evening for your consideration. The first is Dana Shavy, and Dana has previously worked at General Motors for over a decade as a development engineering technician. We also are recommending Dawn Rins is also being recommended as a bus driver tonight. She has previously worked as a machine operator for several different companies. Additionally, we have the recommendation for 2 adult ESL teachers, Deborah Bowen, who's returning to Novi Community School District in the ESL teacher role in the adult education program. She worked in our program in 2022, and she also worked as an ELA teacher at Career Prep High School. We're happy to welcome her back. Kenneth McGraw is also being recommended for an adult ESL teacher position. Kenneth has taught English as a foreign language to Taiwanese elementary students and was previously an English teacher in the virtual program in Ann Arbor Public School District. Finally, we'd like to share a few resignations and retirements this evening. Jennifer Mills resigned effective February 16th from her speech and language position at Orchard Hills. Laura Kravik will be resigning from her position as the Village Oaks secretary on April 5th. Carolyn Miller will be retiring from her high school secretary position effective March 1st. Kenta Rombika is resigning from her position as a bus driver on January 19th. And finally, Holly Borlace will be retiring from her position as a preschool teacher site sub at ECEC on March 8th. We thank both Carolyn and Holly for their service to Novi and wish all of our retirees and those that are resigning all of the best. That includes our lengthy personnel report for this evening, and we'll get to meet some of these fabulous people upon your approval.
Mr. Mena.
Yeah, I move that the board approve and adopt the personnel report as presented.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, and the race to support was won by Dr. Ruskin. So, any questions or comments? Mrs. Beaudoin.
Just wanted to say thank you to Lori, the secretary at Village Oaks. She's always done a great job for us there, and I appreciate that and wish her all the best.
Any other comments? If not, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. Do we have some of the?
We do. I think we'll start with Hannah. Is Hannah here? She can come in. You can come up to the podium, share a little elevator pitch with everybody, introduce yourself, and all that stuff. So.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I was presented as the board certified behavior analyst, and I am super excited. A little bit about myself professionally. I worked mostly center-based with early intervention for 5 years. Absolutely love it. I have always had a big heart for kiddos, and just, watching the great things that they bring to this world and kind of making a difference in their lives. Personally, I love being active, and I'm really passionate about health and wellness. Love a book, traveling, and I'm really excited to, join the Novi school community and, make a difference and, bring my ideas and learn from the people in this community.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Welcome. Next we have Madeline Huber.
Hi, Maddie. A little bit about me professionally is I was a contracted SLP down in Florida for a little while and got to travel around, which was really cool. And before that, I did outpatient in Beaumont, in Dearborn, out in their outpatient location, and absolutely loved it. Kind of fell in love with the school setting down in Florida. Just wanted to come back to Michigan because that's where I'm from. I grew up in Heartland, so not far from here. Personally, I love to spend time with my family and my dogs at home, and just very family-oriented and family-based. I really enjoy sports and acted as a collegiate athlete in Northern Michigan, and then unfortunately did my master's degree in Ohio, so I moved back to Michigan. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right.
Nice to meet
Well
you.
done. Next we have Cindy Long.
Hi, for those of you who have not met yet, I'm Cindy Long. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be part of the Novi Community School District. I am really excited to be here. I've held previous positions in Farmington, in Plymouth, in Livonia, but I really feel like I'm home here in Novi. It's really an honor to be able to service the kiddos here in the community in which I live and also raise my own kids. So I just want to say thank you so much. It really is a dream come true. So thank you.
I think you brought somebody with you too, right?
Yeah, come on, Cindy.
For those of you who don't know, Jim.
Okay. Welcome. Is Jite here? Miss Holly, did she just had to walk out? Okay. I think Rashna is here. Is Rashna Jane here?
Good evening, everyone. As you know, my name is Rachna, and excuse me. I'm honored to be stand before you as a new member of Novi Community School District. I'm really happy that I have got the opportunity to join as a special education paraprofessional. In my profession, I have a bachelor's degree and master's in business administration, and I have worked as a system analyst in India. And I'm happy that I've got this opportunity here to work with the Novi Community School District. My kids are also in Novi Community School District. They are studying here. I have one second grader and one 8th grader in Novi Middle School. My approach to special education is rooted in I believe that every student deserve opportunity to learn and grow regardless of their unique challenges. And I'm dedicated to fostering that environment, working with the special education team, teachers, and staff. And I'm committed to work closely with them to create an environment where every student can thrive and reach to their potential, to their full potential. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is Elsa here?
Frozen.
Hello, everyone. I moved to United States from Latvia only 8 months ago. So this is my first official work at the United States, and I'm glad I can be part of Novi community. In Latvia, I worked for 5 years at special education school, and I was responsible for 10 students with mild intellectual disabilities. And I'm glad I can join this community because the colleagues I've met so far, they're really wonderful and welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is Dana here? All right.
Hi, my name is Dana Chevet. Thank you for your recommendation and thank you for the opportunity. I took an early retirement from General Motors this last year, and just start this next chapter, whatever that's going to be. I have actually worked over half of my career in Michigan. I'm a transplant from out west. I worked at the Milford Proving Ground since 2010, and a lot of great experiences. I am a technician, which is nothing more than a glorified mechanic. But you know, this will be my next professional driving role. I did a lot of development work, test driving, you name it. I did everything. It's probably the greatest place in the world to work if you love cars. It took me to China, it took me to Brazil, and I will forever be thankful for the opportunities that I had there. And I do look forward to serving this community. With Ms. Valentine has a great team. Just in a matter of a couple of days, I'm blown away of the level of professionalism, kindness, and just the welcoming manner that they've accepted me. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you and
Thanks,
welcome.
That is it. You don't have to stay around if you don't want to. I know we do have a rather full agenda, but want to take 5 minutes? Let's take a 5-minute recess so that we can personally thank and you guys can. Okay, welcome back. Moving on with our action items, the Novi Meadows AV screen purchase.
Alrighty, the IDS and the district's technology team and the administration and as well as our architect worked together to identify an AV system that would be meeting the needs of the Novi Meadows cafeteria and gymnasium. This project was presented at our last board meeting. Tonight, the project comes to you for approval, and so we are recommending that the Meadows large format AV project be awarded to ALS in the amount of $126,018 for the base bid and warranty upgrade, and also recommends a 15% contingency. The total award for the project, $144,921.
The recommendation, Mr. Smith.
I recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the Meadows large format AV project with the contract being awarded to ALS in the amount of $126,018 plus a district managed 15% contingency of $18,903 for a total amount not to exceed $144,921.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Smith, supported by Mr. Mitchner. We had a chance to ask questions about this last meeting, and are there any additional questions?
Just
Mr.
one.
Mitchner.
I was just curious if the asymmetric format of the speaker system was intentional in both facilities?
Well, we're fortunate to have Lisa, one of our senior technology coordinator here, so.
Hi, can you repeat that question? Sorry, I didn't hear it all the way.
Yeah, so looking at the schematic in both the cafeteria and the gymnasium, I noticed the speaker placement is asymmetric, and I'm assuming that's intentional, but I was just curious about that.
Yes, it is intentional due to how the cabling and everything has already been structured.
And that we should still have adequate
Yes.
sound coverage without the echo.
Correct, yep, everything will be up to par for what has been put into the quote.
All right, fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. Brings us to the MASB Board of Directors Election 24. Mr. Micah.
Yeah, so this is, every year, the Novi Community School District Board of Education, as a member of the Michigan Association of School Board, has the right to cast a ballot for a group director in the MASB Board of Directors.
Excuse me, Mr. Micah, I think we skipped an item.
We did.
School, but, yep.
We did.
Is that on purpose? Do we want to go back, or, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I didn't know if we were.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah, we can go back.
Go back.
The 2024 school building
Okay.
and site bonds.
So we'll come back to MASB Board of Directors election. So the 2024 School Building and Site Bond Series 3 was presented at our last board meeting. This is essentially authorizing Mr. Kling and myself to go out and make sure that we sell the final series, which is the third series of our 2019 bond. It's going to be called the 2024 Building and Site Bond just because we're going to sell it this June. The bond is in a sum not more than $55 million. This was already approved by voters in the previous ballot. And so the resolution is here for your recommendation, or is there for your approval tonight, which will allow us to go out and sell those bonds as the voters have authorized.
Mr. Mitchell.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education, in the best interest of the Novi Community School District, adopt the attached resolution authorizing the issuance and delegation, the sale of the Novi Community School District 2024 School Building and Site Bonds, Series 3.
I support.
Moved by Mr. Mitchner, supported by Mr. Smith. Any questions? Concerns? Call to question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries 7-0. Now, the MASB Board of Directors election.
Alrighty, so in this particular situation, Novi Community School District Board of Education can vote for a representative for the MASB Board of Directors. There are 3 candidates that are seeking a 3-year term. Bridget McQuiston from Lake Orion Schools, Melanie Hines from Wayne Westland Community Schools, and Evelyn Pridemore from Redford Union School District. So the Novi Community School Board of Education is asked to approve tonight whom they would like to cast a vote for.
Okay, we have all received a number of communications on all three candidates and everything. Does, Mr. Michener?
Yeah, I move that the Novi Community School Board of Education's MASB Board of Directors election ballot for Region 8 be cast for Melaine Hines, candidate for 3-year term, and MASB Board of Directors election ballot.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Michener, supported by Mrs. Beaudoin. Yes, Mr. Michener.
So I can explain why I chose Melanie Hines, and we can have a discussion. So in the meeting, the candidates came for questioning, and I was fortunate enough to be present and took some notes on the interviewing candidates. Let me just, if you can just bear with me, I'll pull up them in a second here. Here we go. All right, so, actually I chose the wrong name, so we'll have to make an amended motion. I can make that amendment or somebody else can.
You should make the amendment since
Yeah, I
you're
have
the
to
one who
make-
knows the name you want.
Yeah, I have to make the amendment. So I would make the amendment motion. I'd like to strike Melaine Hines and replace with Evelyn Pridemore.
Do we have support for the amendment?
Support.
Okay.
So
The amendment moved by Mr. Michener, supported by,
Gotta move along.
okay.
So, sorry for the misspeaking. So Melanie Hines was not present at the forum, so therefore I can't support that. But Evelyn was. Evelyn is the biggest thing in her dialogue and the questions that were answered is she emphasized that she wanted to focus on parents' voices, passionate in equity and education, and she's a long-term career customer service specialist. And what stood out to me among all her answers is that she really had a lot of ideas and plans. She obviously thought a lot about what she would do in the position, and I did appreciate that in most of her answers, they were student-focused and especially focused on instilling equity at the Michigan school board level. The incumbent also had good answers, but unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of material in them. Most of her answers was, I plan to continue doing what I was doing, or I would like to, have another term so that I can finish up some of the projects, but I wasn't able to get much meat out of the answers to her questions. So therefore, that's why I proposed to the board today that we elect Evelyn for the position.
So therefore, we vote on,
The amendment and then the main.
I think we have discussion first though, right?
yeah, we
Okay.
have discussion. Any other discussions?
I was hoping to look at some of my other board members who probably spend more time going to some of these evening meetings and stuff like that to see if they had any comments, so.
Well,
Mrs. Rooney.
would I be out of turn? I would prefer to recommend Harriet McQuestion be our rep for Region 8. Just because I've worked alongside her through quite a few things. I think she has brilliant ideas. She's given a lot of service, and she understands what it is that needs to happen to get things done. And that would be mine.
Okay. Any other comments? So on the amendment, need to call to question. All those supporting the amendment for Evelyn Pridemore?
Are we voting for her or just the amendment to change the?
Voting for the amendment.
Okay,
Which
Change
is
it.
her,
fine. Oh,
right?
So
No, but that would be to place her.
So you'll get another chance to
we have to vote to
Do the amendment.
do the amendment, then we have to
All right.
vote for,
all right, got
the
it.
recommendation that she is, so, okay? All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Amendment passes 7-0. Any other comments? Please go.
I guess I'd have to rely to, oh, sorry,
Go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
You go first.
rely on Mary Ann. I mean, we supported you. You've put hours into that project, gone to dinners, worked, related. I don't think board members have to agree on everything, but when we agree to send somebody to be a representative, that carries some weight with it. I would support Mary Ann's recommendation. I mean, I've spent more time in the past looking at resumes, and I think Evelyn's in the past been, like, had her stuff in there before. I remember seeing some of her stuff and knowing she's from Redford, which says a lot that she's persevered all these years in that district. That's a tough district. But I would just stand by Mary Ann's recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Roney. Dr. Roney.
I'm not Dr. Roney,
Dr.
but I could be. I used to be a doctor.
She could be.
Dr. Rushkin.
She
It's not
plays
even
with
that late yet, guys.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, more coffee.
So I would tend to agree. One, I want to turn to Mary Ann. She goes to all the dinner meetings she has for the last 5 years. I know Birgit, not personally, but I've watched her work over the last 5 years as well. I think all her certifications at MASB, she's super knowledgeable. She has received lots of awards. I do believe that her colleagues throughout the region must think highly of her if they continuously support her, because obviously we are just one voice and one vote in a region, and so I am going to not support the amended resolution on the table at this time, which is in support of Evelyn, correct? Just want to make sure I know what I'm
Yes.
voting for at this moment.
Yes. Okay. I've also had a few dealings with Birgit in the past, since Mrs. Roney has been going to the dinners. I had gone to, some before then and dealt with her in those instances. So she has been around a while. She does understand what the MASB is all about, and my support would be for Birgit also. So unless anybody else has any other questions or comments?
So I would just humbly suggest that instead of calling a question this and voting it down, somebody else can amend to a different candidate. We can vote that in and then vote on that amendment.
I actually like that idea.
Okay.
I'll go for it.
Do I have a motion to amend?
Motion to amend. I would like to put forth Brigitte McQuiston's name as a representative for the MASB Board of Directors.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mr. Smith. And ask for questions or comments again. Seeing none.
No, we need okay, we got a motion.
Supporting, all those in favor of the amendment to support Birgit?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
So passes 6-1. So the next thing would be the recommendation for Birgit Quiston as our MASB Region 8 representative. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0.
I need a vote in a second on every vote, don't I? Do we have a?
The original amendment, the recommendation
All right.
was.
I'm gonna let you clean that up later. Okay? That's all right. All right. We're good.
You good? Okay. So this brings us to our 2023-2024 Budget Amendment 1 resolution.
In our last, or at the board meeting tonight, Mr. Kling presented the budget amendment number 1, which was presented in the February 12th finance meeting, and it comes tonight for your adoption.
Can I get a recommendation? Mrs. Beaudoin.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopt the 2023 to 2024 Budget Amendment 1 as presented.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Beaudoin, supported by Mrs. Roney. Any questions in addition to what the presentation you saw tonight? Or
No,
Mr. Mena?
Yeah, just a quick, I did attend the finance committee meeting where we did discuss this in detail. I haven't been on the finance committee in many years, so I really enjoyed the opportunity to grill Mr. Kling. It was so much fun, but you know what? He was good. He really is good. So I am in full support of this. I'm very comfortable with this.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. Which brings us to 6th grade house and ITC renovations approval. Mr. Mike.
Thank you. We had plenty of discussions about this project over the last 6 months. We took sealed bids over the January month, vetted our bidders, and we are recommending the 6th grade house and ITC renovation package number 5C, listed in the recommendation letter, the amount of $20,649,079. And this work will commence just as soon as possible when our students end the school year this year. And this was also presented at the Capital Projects Committee of the Whole just recently, earlier this month.
Okay. I have a recommendation. Mrs. Roney.
That the Novi Community School District Board of Ed award the contracts to the bidders as listed for a total amount of $20,649,079.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Roney, supported by Mr. Mitchner. Any questions? Concerns? Comments? None? Well, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Came for nothing. Okay. This brings us to our International Championship High School Acapello ICHSA semifinals.
Yeah, this is kind of an exciting situation. We've not taken this trip before, and we weren't aware that we were going to be able to take this trip before, but for the first time, the Novi High School choir students that participate in the a cappella choir moved beyond the semifinals, or moved beyond the region competition, and they're going to the semifinals at Harrison High School in Ohio, the Midwest quarterfinals on the Midwest quarterfinals, which are coming up on March 15th, the semifinal, which is March 15th. I'm getting that screwed up. So because this just happened on February 10th that they won, there's a real short turnaround time. Obviously, we're hoping that the board will support the kids going down to Harrison High School to compete in the Midwest semifinal.
Okay, can I get a motion?
We're looking for it.
We don't have one.
No.
That we don't, I don't think we have one. We do?
Betsy's got it.
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the field trip for Major 6 a cappella choir to Harrison, Ohio to compete in the ICHSA semifinals. And I think that's all I have to say, right?
I support.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Beaudoin, supported by Mr. Smith. Any questions? Comments?
Congrats to this group, yeah, great job.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to any of the concerts when they perform,
It's Major 6, isn't it?
they are outstanding and
That's what I thought.
well deserved to go on to these competitions. So.
I'm sorry,
It is called
our
Major
words,
6,
it's Major
correct?
6, right?
Yes.
VI?
I
Our
think we may
stuff
have
says
our
IV.
Roman numeral maybe.
We're calling it 4.
Oh, it's.
I speak Roman
Yeah.
numerology.
I just,
It needs to be flip-flop.
I just went ahead and fixed it in my head because I thought that's what they were called, so.
That's- and that is
Just
what
making
you
sure my
stated,
motion's
so-
appropriate, we aren't approving someone else's.
That's what you said, so it's good.
Okay, good. Carry on then, thank you.
Okay.
Just check.
So did I have a motion?
We did.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
Call the question.
Let's call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes 7-0. Okay, this brings us to information and discussion. First one, Orchard Hills First Lego League Robotics Team Championship.
Yeah, the Orchard Hills First Lego League robotics team was chosen to attend the first championship in Houston, Texas. There'll be 5 students in 2nd and 3rd grade who will attend this event. We'll be traveling with one or more parents and will be making their own travel and lodging arrangements. This is a pretty impressive thing because all levels of our robotics programs will be able to be selected to represent Michigan in the world stage. This is something our high school team has done a number of times, but it's nice to see all 3 levels having that opportunity. And so that is coming to you tonight. They don't go until April, so you have at least a board meeting to review that information. And if it's okay, Mr. President, I'll go down to the next one as well.
Sure.
Middle school is, for the first time, I had the opportunity to go to the robotics open house tonight. And this year, actually a first for Novi and an incredible feat. We had 3 of Novi's robotics teams at the middle level selected to go as well. And that will take place in April also. So the middle school teams that were able to persevere and move through, they have some phenomenally talented students. And so both of these trips will be heading down to Houston, and we'll bring that back for your approval in March.
Mims? Yes, Dr. Rursky.
I know we like to have things brought to us, information and discussion first, but I just want to inquire with you as our board president, would it be out of line or inappropriate to move this forward? I feel like as a parent, February 22nd is today, and if I got a little nervous, like I'm sure the board will approve it, but if I have to wait for them to approve it in March, like the parent, I'm a planner, so I'd be freaking out that I would need to wait for your approval till March.
You can make a motion if you'd like.
Okay. Can we make just one motion that the Novi Community School Board of Education approve? Hold on, I gotta get real creative here. The Orchard Hills First Lego League Exploration Robotics Championship and the middle school first championship trip, both to Houston, Texas from April 17th through the 21st, 2024.
Support.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Rushkin, Dr. Rushkin, supported by Mrs. Rowan. Excellent, okay.
We're one person.
So, one
Yes.
question.
Mr.
I noticed that the forms that the coordinators haven't done this type of trip before, and they haven't had any previous experience, and there's no one listed in the line for other chaperones accompanying the trip. Is there plans to have somebody with experience accompanying these 2 groups?
Yeah, one of the advantages that they'll have is that the high school teams and the coaches from the high school teams will be present, and so they're regular attenders, and they're going to kind of serve as their kind of mentors, through the whole process. So they'll be in good company, and they won't be alone. But the fact that all 3 levels are going to go is kind of a unique and cool opportunity.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, I'll just say, I too made a quick trip through the open house, and there literally are, for FIRST, which is supposed to be a parent-run organization, not curriculum-based, we have one of the largest teams in our first robotics challenge level, which is the high school level. We have 2 teams now.
We actually, I think, have 3.
3 now.
Yeah.
At that level, even though one of them is in excess of 100 kids. Then our first tech challenge, which is the middle school level, there are, what, 20?
I think about 20 or 30.
20 or 30 teams. When you get down to the upper elementary ages, which would be the first Lego League, there are too many to count. And there's competitions there. And then there is the junior first Lego League, which K through 2 would do. And they put on a Lego display with movements based on a certain theme. All teams in Novi usually excel, and the kids have a really good time, having coached a couple of levels of those. But the one thing that is kind of missing out of this, and we're like the snowboarding team, participation is dropping, is we also have a unified robotics team that compete. And this year, they were displaying their robot over there, and it's quite a challenge with using Legos to sumo wrestle. So I'm happy that these teams did make it this far, because there are local events, regional events, state events, national events, and this is actually a world event. So congratulations to these teams. Definitely going to support them going. So, any other questions, comments after my lengthy explanation of first Lego, or first robotics?
It's good to have that explanation.
So, for the inspiration in, I'm trying to remember what the acronym stands for. First actually does stand for something. So
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Dan, do you know?
I think it's for inspiration and recognition of science and technology.
Yep, that's it. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, I'm a coach.
Thank you.
Yes. So, no other questions, concerns, comments? I will call to question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 7-0. Kids can go.
Great.
Yay. I'm sure all the parents are thanking us right now. Because now they can book their
Okay.
flights.
This brings us to our high school baseball, softball, tennis project information discussion. Mr. Mike.
Great. At our last CPC Committee of the Whole, we talked about the high school project with baseball, softball, tennis, and we also talked about a bit of the urgency in approving this project. But knowing that we would not fully have vetted all of the bids, we have some preliminary information, but we haven't fully vetted all of the bids yet. We thought that it would be important to at least bring the project forward so that you can ask questions about it. Stu and Kevin are going to be here and give a presentation on it. And then, you know, hopefully in March, then we won't miss a beat. We'll be able to bring it and approve it so that we can make sure that we stay on timeline. So we'll let you do a quick overview of the project and be able to answer any questions.
Will do. Good evening. I'm joined here with Stu tonight with TNP Architecture. I will kick off the presentation, then allow Stu to go through some of the design elements of each project, each site. I know he had handed out some roughly 5 handouts, if you could share them, get a closer look, but we'll also have them up on the screen. Just kind of a timeline that we're working towards. We did take bids last week on the 13th. The McCarthy team worked diligently thereafter to conduct post-bid reviews with all of the bidders that we had received. We did get very good turnout and interest in the project, which is great. We're here tonight for information on the 22nd, and we'll be in front of the board on March 14th seeking approval. We're then going to be working behind the scenes for a period of a handful of months, getting permitting in place, procurement and planning, and then hopefully as soon as the weather allows and we have all of our approvals in place from the permitting authorities, we'll be breaking ground sometime in May. That project for the baseball and softball will take us through close to the end of 2024. We're hoping to improve that to get maybe some late fall play on those fields. But the first project of priority will be the baseball and softball Phase 1. The tennis facility will then commence in April of 2025 and go through early fall of 25. And you can see just below in that red box, I do want to note that this is just for Phase 1 of these projects. We had the opportunity at the Capital Projects Committee of the Whole to kind of explain the future phases to come, which will be in the 2025 bond program. And that really includes, at least at the baseball and softball, some of the amenities like locker rooms, concessions, restrooms, things of that nature. And at the tennis facility, we're looking at a potential, to the north part of the site, a potential for some indoor courts as well that we're going to be researching as part of the 25 bond program. We'll have the finalized numbers in order here shortly to share prior to the next board meeting. And collectively, we're working towards a revised budget of roughly $14 million, which between the bids that we've received, we're going to be tracking pretty close to that. So I'm going to turn it over to Stu to kind of guide you through these slides and give you a design overview and narrative of each project.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, everybody, for having us. So we'll start with baseball. So directly to the south of the high school, we have the softball field, the existing softball field, and we also have the existing practice fields. And this is the location for the new baseball complex. And just note that this is a sequencing of, with the activity center coming up in the next couple years or so. We have looked at multiple sites, and we found that this site best suits baseball complex. We did look at keeping the baseball diamond at its existing, but with tennis coming down here too, it made more sense to keep tennis, or to move tennis to where the existing baseball field is. So this would be great for a baseball softball complex space for both. So yeah, we would be taking over this athletic field for the new baseball complex. Going to the plans here, as you can see, it's a really nice first-class facility. We're planning to add approximately 180 to 200 parking stalls. So there'll be adequate parking, and this could be used for football, for any other athletic sports at the stadium as well. We have some bus drop-off as well for regional tournaments, for other types of baseball, softball events as well. The softball specifically will have new dugouts, new grandstands, and we are planning to resurface their field. Their capacity will be, I believe it's, I think it says 550, but it would be like 450 for softball, about 550 for baseball. The dugouts for baseball and softball will be the same size, so there'll be complementary balance. I've got some elevations I'll show here in a minute what those look like. But as you can see, we're doing some really fun graphics on the field, really branding the Novi image with the baseball and softball teams. We are putting in some new landscaping elements too to really make this a really nice facility and complex. We do have some batting cages in the center between baseball and softball. For this phase specifically, they will be outdoor. For the next future phase, we are looking to do an enclosed batting cages, as well as new concessions, team lockers, toilet rooms of that sort too. So that's to come in the future. These are some elevations to show what that looks like with the grandstands specifically. Part of these grandstands will also have some storage underneath, so any kind of maintenance or any kind of equipment storage, these can be utilized for a multitude of services. So both baseball and softball will have storage underneath. Here's another elevation looking towards home plate from the outfield. And we're also planning to, as you can see, brand baseball and softball with the Power Cat logo on the backside of the grandstand too, to give it some nice flair. The dugouts, again, as I mentioned, will be complementary sizes. They'll be the same size for baseball and softball. We've worked closely with the baseball and softball teams and Don's staff to make sure we get the proper amount of team members and staff accounted for. We've got custom helmet storage, bat storage, plenty of space for their team, and it'll be first class all around. So we're really excited to create this space for a team that just won the state championship last year. So we're really excited about that. Moving on to the tennis complex. This is the existing baseball field, as you all know. This suits really well for the tennis complex. Like I mentioned before, we had looked at tennis being more south where those practice fields are, but with tennis having site lighting, light fixtures, we felt it best served closer to the high school and to not be a potential distraction to the neighbors to the south. Furthermore, with tennis being very, very popular in the community, we wanted to really have it be more visual, more accessible for the community to use as well. Here's the layout for the tennis complex. As Kevin mentioned, we're looking at a future phase of two indoor courts just to the north. To the south, we're maintaining the 12 courts that are in existence right now. One thing that we've worked closely with our consultants is, how can we improve the user experience and the patron experience? So we've created these 4 quadrants to provide easier visibility for matches, and we're going to be creating some shaded canopy spaces for seating. We've got some additional storage down there as well, so it'll be a really nice facility. I also want to mention too the additional parking to the south of the high school. We have about, I think it says 66, but it's more about 90 or so. So a lot of good things for the high school athletics. We're really excited about it. I've also brought a sample, because I'm kind of a geek here, but a sample of what the masonry will look like. This is the same masonry that's on the new concessions building at the high school. So we want to utilize as much of the same materials and colors to keep that brand and that design element for all of athletics. So open up to any questions you might have.
Mrs. Rooney.
This piques my interest here, alternate new drive parking lot. Is that like a wish list or?
So that's a deduct alternate. We've looked at the potential of, parking has been a big issue at the high school, and so we wanted to maximize as much as we possibly could. So we've created this additional parking space, for the potential, for overflow of parking, but it is an alternate. So if we don't want it, then we can look into, taking that off the.
Well, it's being recommended that we're going to accept it, so it'll be part of the project.
Well, one of the other things to your question is we also have had requests, as we've been doing a lot of, listening to the constituents there from the cross-country community and the coaches, because they don't have a dedicated place to park, and that's right next to the area where their course is. And so we thought it would be a nice way to not only provide some additional parking on campus, but to give the cross-country squad, an area to park there as well.
Oh, that's great. No, I was just thinking about football because it's, just right over the bridge.
Yeah, we've also talked that that's a possibility where you could have your event workers park where they don't have to take up the spots that are so valuable, in that space, because it's just a quick walk up there. So we could even section some of that area off for people that are event workers, and that would be a nice feature as well.
Mrs. Beaudoin.
I'm not sure if this is really a question for you all, or perhaps someone at this table may know. Is it going to be problematic to have a parking lot in the direction that people are hitting baseballs or softballs, I suppose, in this case? Or is that not going to really, do softball players hit softballs far enough that parking lot is not going to be
I have an answer, I'll let you guys talk
No,
first, so.
that's a great question.
Okay, because I'm like, I actually don't really do a lot of sports, so
Yeah.
I'm not
Yep.
sure, but that seems a little dangerous.
No, and that was brought up early in the design phase. We usually had parking a lot closer to the field, and we had talked about, what if a foul ball comes? That happens all the time, right? I'm not gonna park
I
that close, so.
presume.
So what we did was we extended the height of the nets behind the home plate, and we've also pulled back the parking lot a little bit, and we've also put in a row of trees. So
Oh,
we've
no,
got.
I see that part, and I assume there'd be some kind of netting here, but the softball field?
Oh, the outfield
And
softball,
the
I'm sorry.
direction that they're hitting, I don't know how far they hit the ball, though.
Yeah, so so I think it's 280 feet to midfield of softball, and for this field, that's pretty a generous size. So where that parking lot is, I mean, you have to be a
So
pretty.
to
Yeah.
hit a softball in center field that far would be an exceptionally rare poke, like it,
And
you
people
know.
would probably be like real excited about it and not mind that they're
Yeah,
parking right.
probably
Well, I don't know about that, but, I would
So-
say that it's out of the range that most girls are gonna hit,
Okay, so
especially
it
down
would be
center
not
field.
typical that
Not
would
for
be
high school.
Not for high school,
awesome.
yeah. Anything's possible, right? There's never a guarantee when you go to a sporting event. But,
Identify as
Yeah, Parker, beware.
Mr. Mitchner.
So the turnaround, I'm assuming that size for the buses, so they don't have to go all the way up?
So that
To the
turnaround
parking
is
area?
existing. So we've tried to maintain that. We've worked with our civil engineer to see if that would, work with buses and the fire truck. So, we haven't had any issues with the size of that turnaround, but yeah, that would be used for buses or for, if you don't need to use that additional parking space.
Okay, Mr. Mena.
Let's see, two things. One, I think earlier in the presentation, when you were talking about timelines, you mentioned May, right? I'm just wondering, did I understand that right? And because I was trying to understand how that would work with the current softball schedule. Is there gonna be work being done on the softball field while mid-season?
No, we would phase it appropriately, start work outside of the field limits. And then obviously when the
Okay.
season's complete, we would then focus on the softball. But we'll
And-
coexist and not interfere with their activities.
And in the parking lot, due north of the tennis courts, did we finally figure out how many spots we're gonna gain there? How many did you say?
Yeah, so this plan shows 66, and our athletics consultant put this together, so we have more than 66. We allocated about 90 to 100 additional parking stalls, so.
I can't tell you how great that's gonna be. That's like the,
Well, even to add parking down in the,
oh my God. There are days where it gets so horrible out there.
yeah.
Mr. Mitchner.
One other question, with the tennis facilities, I love the ideas of shaded canopies. Is there any possibility we can increase shade in the tennis court areas if, in the future, when we go to phase two, if we find we could use some more?
For more like canopy structures?
More shaded areas for, people waiting for court availability or just watching in general?
Yeah, absolutely, I don't think that would be an issue at all. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I will ask a couple. Have we looked at breaking this down into some more phases? Trying to get, things done and the baseball diamond in and usable quicker so that we can get the tennis courts moved quicker, so we can get the activity center started quicker? Do we really have to build the stadium this time? Can we pour a foundation and concrete slab and move the bleachers down there to get that going?
You need it, buddy.
The thing that the community voted on was the activity center. And we keep putting that's the last thing on the list. And here we're gonna go out and ask them for more money before, that's even probably even half done. Actually, we're probably gonna go out and ask them for money before we even started it, so. Just trying to look at, is there a critical path that we can, are we waiting to build the stadium to put the field in, or can we get the field in and do part of the stadium, but what other things can we do to shorten that critical path?
Our critical path is driven, our critical path right now is driven by the grandstands, which right now are a lead time of 180 days of fabrication. That's off of, after shop drawings have gone through approval and engineering. So the schedule itself is really based around those grandstands and getting those in set in place. So essentially the schedule is derived basically having those grandstands installed and not putting you guys in a position where you don't have a baseball field to play on. So we don't want to do that overlap and get ourselves in a position where you might run that risk. Because right now, we're looking at grandstands possibly not being able to arrive until about January.
So we'll go on.
Would it be feasible to do the turf and such and use the old grandstands in the meantime? Would that expedite timeline at all? Is that a thing that can happen?
The turf will be put in this fall. So the ball field, as far as that outline will be taking shape. The grandstands itself, though, and bringing the old bleachers over, it would be a thought, but we do have to have the site prepped for the new grandstands. So we're not gonna be able to have like the complete sidewalk behind where the new grandstands is going, because we need to be able to get our equipment in to set those grandstands when they do arrive.
Would it be a worthwhile thing to explore in terms of if that expedites the timeline substantially? Is that maybe a possible solution that, while this is being built and it does look absolutely wonderful, maybe we have to, tough that out for one season and then get everything else done. So.
Kind of goes back into master planning and not just having one step, two step being done, but maybe 5 steps to get it done. And being able to utilize it earlier and get some other stuff going. I like the plan, I like the idea, but to say, okay, we can't use it until we get half of it done, and then the other half will come later with another bond. It just delays one of the biggest items that the community voted for. So I'm just trying to.
I mean, we do have to have that ground clear, right? And we have to have those tennis courts moved so that we can build the activity center, and in order to move the tennis courts, we have to move the baseball field. So, I mean, it is like a 1, 2, 3 process, but I'm just wondering, like, in terms of timeline, if we could see if there's any other creative solutions that might give us some more leeway on that timeframe. And
There could potentially be an opportunity to start site clearing on the tennis court locations yet this fall, which we'll certainly look at to get a jump. So come spring, we're hitting the ground running, and we've got a lot of that site work already prepped. Right now, we're showing a spring of 25 start, but that doesn't mean that we can't entertain an opportunity to start in the fall. With baseball, I think I think regardless, no matter how it's phased, we're not looking at playing on those fields here in '24. It's just not feasible to do. And I can say that if you were to phase it to give incremental usage of those fields, the pricing that we receive would definitely go up. We're bidding on an economy of scale, allowing the trades to get in there, get the work done, and get out.
Okay.
I think if there is any opportunity on how things are laid out right now, and that would be to get a quicker jump on the tennis facility come potentially fall of this year.
If you did that, that would allow, obviously, you to more quickly demo the existing tennis courts, right?
Yeah.
Wait, can I just?
Mrs. Rowan.
Thank you. So if we demoed the baseball field and we don't have the grandstands, if there's like Village Oaks Playground, what would we do? I mean, I just want to play devil's.
Standing room only.
So, I mean, would that basically be it? I mean, the teams could play, but no one can watch?
We looked at
holding chairs.
the option of doing both of these in parallel, and there's a huge risk with doing that, with taking out the existing baseball field. We're still dealing with procurement issues with materials, just a couple years ago, and we're not dealing with it right now, fortunately, but you never know what could happen. It took close to a year to get turf. So if we were to take both of those sites offline collectively, and take baseball offline and not have this new field done and have the old field offline, that would really impact our ability to play ball come 25 at any site. So it's a huge risk by doing them both at the same time. I think the real opportunity that we have is to potentially expedite tennis, maybe shave a couple months off that schedule by starting work yet this fall. Potentially we have another warm winter like we are right now, and we can really get a jump on it. And then come when the weather breaks in 25, shave a few months off that schedule, then allowing us, because we're looking at 25 bond program right now as well, we should have designs in place for the activity center. We should have our architectural team and teams established by then, where we can really hit the ground running. And the plan is to hit the ground running as soon as the 25 bond hopefully passes on one of those options for the activity center. But that'll then allow us to maybe do further site prep ahead of time and really, again, take advantage of those few months that we could potentially work on yet this fall.
You still have the, go ahead.
Oh.
You still have the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Ooh, power. Ben, how many tennis courts do we have at the middle school?
We have, I think there are, is there 6, are they 12 there as well, or are there 14?
I
think there might be only 12 there.
I think there's 12.
I mean, is that like something where I mean, not ideal, but could our high school tennis play there for, if we wanted to demo those and?
Yeah. We have done that actually in the past.
I know, but that's
yeah,
why.
So we have done that in the past. What I will say, there's a complicating factor, and that is that we've just started middle school tennis. And we already have, I think, talking to the coach the other day at an event, I think we have almost 80 kids that have signed up already to be in middle school tennis.
I can see that, yeah.
And so,
those aren't lit.
yeah, so one of the challenges, of course, is, just scheduling and practice and trying to run, varsity events and things like that. But, we can definitely look at that. I think, Mr. Cook and I have talked about this. I think it's something that we've tried to accelerate the activity center as much as possible. I think, when we started a lot of this work a couple years ago when I came on and we started looking at timelines, I mean, the activity center wasn't supposed to start for even quite a bit further out. And of course, at that time, you didn't have the, potential of going back out to the community in 2025. So there's a myriad of things that have kind of shifted and changed as a result of, obviously what happened over the last 4 or 5 years. But, I think we're really trying to be thoughtful about pushing that as aggressively as possible. And so I don't think it's a bad idea for us to look at, how can we accelerate things as much as possible. But we also don't want to compromise, right? The opportunity for a team to participate or any of those things, so.
I was not aware of the middle school tennis teams.
Yeah, but, anything is worth taking a look at. I think all of those angles are good ideas, and we'll work through that.
Mrs. Burgoyne.
Just wanted to also say that while we are all very, very eager to see all of this progress as quickly as feasible, I realize and want to just publicly acknowledge here that we are asking you guys to do a lot of different things all at the same time, and this is a massive endeavor, and I appreciate the attention to detail that has gone into the 6th grade house renovations and all of the sports facilities and the plans for what we want to do in the future, and there's just a lot happening here. So while it's, to me, I'm always like, well, can we do it faster? Can we do it faster? Can we do it now? Just, please read that as enthusiasm and not pressure. Just real excited about all the work y'all are doing, so thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks, Patsy.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate your diligence. This brings us to our superintendent report.
Excellent, thank you so much. I have just a couple of items to share. I shouldn't say that. I have a few items to share. First of all, I had the opportunity to go to the National Conference on Education this past week in San Diego. It was really kind of a neat experience. It's one of the largest education conferences in the United States. We had close to 6,000 people there, and some of the best innovators that are out there in our field. I have a number of items to share over the course of the next few weeks, and I'll get to some of the things that I picked up from that conference. It was great having Dr. Ruskin have the opportunity to go and learn and attend a few of the same sessions, and so hopefully next year we'll have the opportunity to obviously open that up and invite any other members of the board that might like to go. Next year is in New Orleans, so if you're interested in that kind of a thing. Also wanted to let you know that we have our DEI, we talked about Black History Month earlier. We have our cultural observance calendar, which is updated. It's on our website now. The DEI team did a great job of working through a variety of the different members of our community that we serve, and so being able to celebrate them and even understand a little bit more about the neighbors that a lot of our community members live next to, and so I would encourage people to take a look at that. I also wanted to say the robotics open house that I attended this evening, just to see what they're doing, my jaw was just dropped, and of course the kids grab onto and they want to do their elevator pitch and tell you all the things that they're doing, and it's so exciting to see how passionate they are and excited they are to talk about their learning and what they're finding out, and it's just an amazing group of people, and it wouldn't be possible without all the parent volunteers, and that kind of dovetails into the Courageous Curiosity podcast that I started a year ago. We've been releasing episodes every so often. We are getting onto a schedule, so the episode that we filmed today is actually on parent volunteerism and talking with PTOs and other groups. There's been an interesting kind of halt in parent volunteers since COVID happened and all sorts of other things, and so really exploring this topic, and I had the opportunity to talk with several parents, and that podcast is going to release on Tuesday of next week, and we will start releasing them every other Tuesday from there on out. I will let you know that we're planning the next episode, and I'm going to ask several of you that might be interested. The topic is going to be, what do school board members do? And so I think it would be a good opportunity to start planting some seeds for people that might have questions on that, and so it'll be hopefully an interactive opportunity. I'll be tapping some of you on that as well. We also want to make sure everybody knows May 1st to save the date. That's going to be the State of the District event. We're hoping that to be a big opportunity for us to showcase a lot of our programs, invite our community out. We're going to have dinner, feed everybody, and that should be an exciting thing. I'll also say two last things. We had talked about creating an ad hoc subcommittee for both transportation as well as master planning, and so we're at a point, I know Mr. Kling and I have talked, that we're ready to have that conversation about the fleet and how we would be looking at that, and so I don't know, Mr. Cook, if you want to maybe send, I can send something on your behalf, but just to garner interest for those two committees. Master planning, we've talked about it tonight. That's an opportunity for us to look big picture beyond what we're planning in the existing bond scope, but to really look at where things could go over the next 10 plus years. And so I think those two committees would be important to get off the ground. Again, it may not result in us meeting many times over the year. It might be a handful of meetings, and that's the purpose of that ad hoc, more of a temporary committee. And then the last thing I'll say is March is reading month, and so we're looking forward to gearing up for that over the next week or two. So thank you for all of your support and ongoing just encouragement that you give our staff. I wanted to do a standing slow clap after each of you talked after Rosalie's presentation. I think there's a lot of really cool things that this district is able to do, and it's because you give us the opportunity to have the freedom to push and explore and think about things in different ways. And I think I speak for the staff that creates an incredibly exciting environment to work in, and we do appreciate that. I said this was the last thing, but one last thing I would be remiss if I didn't say. Mr. Jeremini's team did a phenomenal job planning, professional development this last week. I don't want to steal thunder if he's going to talk about that, but he's really led a very thoughtful process, and his team has been very intentional about making sure that our professional learning for our staff is really connected. And so it's really an honor to work here and with all of you, and so just a lot of gratitude. So thank you.
This brings us to our administrative reports. Mr. Kling, you've been talking all night.
I gotta remember, it's like, you get the last say it when you start, so. I was all ready to go, I'm like, oh yeah.
I just wanted Mr. Giovanni to wait a little bit longer.
Just wanna know when Mr. Grimaldi's gonna talk.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Now they're gonna live it down.
How could anyone pronounce that name? Just so phonetically
Mr. Clayton. How many hours over? Go ahead, sorry.
Mine is German.
Can't beat that.
I'll keep my brief because of, I know I talked to them today. I just want to say earlier today we had coffee with the superintendents. We got a chance to meet the community members and kind of talk about business and operations and any questions that they might have. And I felt like that was really positive and good for there. Drop by and looking forward to the next time I get to do that because that was honestly fun. Two things. One, we had our RFP for our audit services that closes to receive bids tomorrow. So we're going to look at who submitted bids, kind of review them, and then bring those. Thinking about doing an interview, so you might pick a board member to be on that interview panel, but to kind of go over audit services. So more on that to come. Just wanted to kind of get it out there ahead of time. And then also we're wrapping up the RFP for our insurance services also. That's going to have a March timeline. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jeremini.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. In chapter 1 of my report tonight, I would like to also recognize the PD Day that occurred on Tuesday. I really have to acknowledge the work of Emily Flonsky, our Director of Instruction. She has this ability to make what seems like the impossible happen and come together. It's just so well coordinated and thought out, aligned. All of our coaches and administrators who led sessions, I mean, we spread that team so thin so that we can provide PD, teachers, and staff that is customized to their level. So I'm very proud of that group. We do have 2 more PD days this year, Friday, March 8th for our K-6, and then Monday, March 11th for our 7-12 group. We have kindergarten information night next week, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the NHS auditorium, district-wide kindergarten information night, an opportunity for parents and guardians to come learn all about the kindergarten program offerings that we have for next year. It's an exciting time, probably a little nerve-wracking, but we'll have administrators, teachers, and building principals there to kind of lead them through that night. As you know, our K-4 literacy trials began February 5th, so just at the beginning of this month. So far, we have received a ton of positive feedback from our educators. So there's some good learning happening about what each of these programs entails, the strengths, the weaknesses, and we'll just continue to keep you updated on how that goes. I just want to shout out our literacy coaches and our instructional coaches who have stepped up to help out for making it happen in such a quality way. Chapter 2. Our unified basketball team last week at the Howell game recognized NATC graduate Michael Manning. He completed his educational journey with Novi Schools last June, but it was a nice opportunity to recognize him. So thank you to our coaches, our special education staff, our athletic director, Don Wachowski, and of course the entire Novi team for making that happen. In the future, Sunday, March 17th, the Novi Unified Showcase will take place at Little Caesars Arena. That includes a Pistons game at 3, a Unified game at 6, and proceeds from each game go to support Novi Unified. You can find more information at pistons.com/Novi Unified.
Cool.
And then, I got like 14 chapters here, I'm very sorry. Last but not least, my wife and I are honored to help represent our school district tomorrow night at the Japanese Consulate's residence to celebrate the Emperor's birthday dinner. We'll do our best to represent us well. It's a very exciting evening and very proud of our partnership with our Japanese community, so.
Where's that?
In Bloomfield Hills, the consulate's residence.
At his house?
At his house, yeah.
Nice. Oh.
Last year it was at the Ren Center. This year it's at his home. We feel special.
No.
You are special.
You've been practicing with the chopsticks.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Giramini. This brings us to board communication. Mr. Mena.
I have a couple of things. Number one, not anything really a deep dive here. We can talk about it probably at a policy committee meeting or something, but there is a facility within Robert's rules for us to be able to withdraw motions. So I think we should kind of look into that, and if not, then maybe add that into policy. I think normally if somebody makes a motion, they could simply mention it to the chair, who will then ask if there's any objection. If there's not objection, then the withdrawal could happen. If there is objection, then we would go through the whole process we did today. So we should probably at some point maybe document that so that we can kind of speed up the process here during our meetings. And then the other thing I want to mention is if you haven't had a chance to see it, we had one of our girls basketball players make just an unbelievable, incredible shot at a basketball game this week at Salem High School. I think Katie Lindsay, who's a senior, will be graduating this year, right at the buzzer, tossed one in for well over half court. Just grabbed it, heaved it, went in, and just it's really worth seeing. So I'm sure there's a number of people who posted out there. So if you get a chance to look at it, please do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mena. Mr. Missioner.
Yeah, so I got to attend the Novi Woods Multicultural Night, and I got to say that you would think that the Pistons, the Detroit Lions, all the Red Wings players, and any celebrity that's ever come to Detroit was there that night, because you couldn't find a parking spot either here at the sixth grade house at Woods, and the building was absolutely packed. There must have been close to 500, if not more, people there. And it all capped off with a big presentation of all the students had multiple different cultural presentations, and there was literally standing room only in that gymnasium, and it was absolutely packed. So the community support for that event is phenomenal, and the kids love it. They love the food. The parents get to talk, and it's just a really good way for people to share about their different cultures and backgrounds, and Novi Woods does an exceptional job at it. So congrats to that staff, the school, the community that goes there, and of course, the principal Alice, she's doing a great job over there. And then also I got to attend the Novi Meadows Volleyball Night, which I was kind of curious to see how that would go, but there was actually some pretty good volleyball being played and some pretty good attendance. The gym had 4 courts running, and they were pretty full for most of the night, so the kids got to have some free ice cream, and everybody seemed to have a really good time. So that was a really nice event to attend, so that was fun as well. And then the one thing on the Roberts Rules, once a motion has been stated by the chair, it can't be withdrawn. There are ways to expedite the process, especially in a small board like this, but in general, it is still a formal process. It's owned by the collective organization once the question's been stated, so to speak, and discussion's been started. But we can definitely get into the finer details of Robert's Rules. There are some faster ways we could do stuff if that's the overall desire of this group. There's definitely some things we can do since we're a small board of 7. So.
Any other board committees? Dr. Ruskin.
So as Mr. Micah stated, I did get the opportunity to go to the National Education Conference. It was very inspiring to be surrounded by administrators who give lots of time and energy to kids. The hashtag for the event was Here for the Kids, and I think, just like all of us board members, that was definitely seen. Walking around the vendor fair, just like the world, education is changing faster than we probably can even dream. So seeing all the innovative and things out there, different platforms. I am not going to steal any of Mr. Micah's thunder and share any of the things that I saw or heard, except for one of the speakers. There was a speaker who spoke on safe schools. She has a 504. Her and another parent started a 504 for, it's called Safe and Sound Schools. She's a parent of a victim of the Sandy Hook shooting. Little Josephine was a first grader, and she's the parent of Josephine. And she was also an educator in her life prior to being a mother, a stay-at-home mom. So seeing this woman get up and speak to a room full of educators, administrators, just people in that field was super heavy and emotional and inspiring. One thing I took away from her, her talk was that the way she presented herself was not in a defensive, angry space. It was these are things that we can learn, and this is what I want to help you all think about, because you can all have the most amazing and the best plans out there. And those plans will change if and when this happens to you. So she wasn't encouraging not having planning. She was saying, keep doing all the planning, but really, these are some things that I experienced during my unfortunate circumstance, and I want to help you make sure that you don't go down those roads, even though you'll find probably many other hiccups that she did not. So she was really, really amazing, and has just taken her work into the Safe and Sound Schools, and she works with law enforcement and educators and parents and legislators and all of this, just to make sure that when and if these things happen, that the best possible outcomes and communications can happen for everybody in the community involved. So I would look up her website and see what she has to say. She was quite a beacon of inspiration for everyone in the room.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Any other communication? I will say I did get an opportunity to, we popped in on a classroom that was using the new literacy tools and lesson, and the kids had taken right to it.
At Village Oaks.
Yep. Trying to remember which school, because we always go to a different one. But yeah, the kids took right to it, and there was no hesitation at all with them. They loved it. They were engaged, and kind of opened my eyes to some of the things that they're teaching at that level. So. Okay, no other board communication. We are going to move into a closed session here, and when we come out, we will take no action. So, well, the only action we will take is to adjourn the meeting. So, but I will entertain a motion.
Well, let's see, because I know you'd like us to call. I move that we go into closed session under OMA Section 1, Section 8, 1K.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mena, supported by Mrs. Beaudoin. Roll call, Mr. Mena.
Trustee Beaudoin.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Mena, yes. Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Roney.
Yes.
Trustee Ruskin.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay. We will head into closed session. Thank you very much, and for those still here. See you.
Are we just doing it in here, or are we going?
It depends if Dan leaves.